wonder, secrets unfold. True crime stories, let the intrigue be told. Grab a seat, get cozy, let's dive into the plot. With Mac J by my side, there's so much to be sought. Mods from the stars, they light up the night. Chillin' with Van, everything feels just right. Welcome to the mystery, the thrill, the thrill we embrace. Solving cases together we'll trace. With Tabby and Maggie, the journey's begun. With laughter and stories, we'll shine like the sun. Spirit Time vibes with Lisa and Mark. Tia and Mel igniting the spark. According to Lean, curiosity flows. A curious rose in a garden of woes. Sweet misery whispers, tales that enthrall. While Matt, Meg, and Jody, we gather them all. Welcome to the mystery, the thrill we embrace. Solving cases together we'll trace. With Tabby and Maggie, the journey's begun. With laughter and stories, we'll shine like the sun. So come along, join the fun tonight. In Aussie true crime, everything feels so right.
Hey everyone.
Hello everyone. Oh, we've got Lennon here.
Got the chairman from Virginia, USA. See what happens when we go live early?
Yeah.
Beautiful Kez, how are you, my darling? Beautiful Leanie. I let out 5 memberships as well. So Lollipops, Mrs. T, Maggie, JK, and Ohio are all new members. I have to apologise that this got put off. I was just telling Mac J, my grandson is very, very sick at the moment. I hope you had a beautiful Mother's Day too, Leanie. I hope everyone did. But we had a very sick grandson and he was having trouble breathing last night. So that's why I put it off yesterday. We took him to the hospital, or to the doctors this morning, and they've now put him on puffers and some steroids. So fingers crossed that all makes it better and he gets better, because at the moment he's pulling this Nana's heart out. But we're here and we've had such a big week. Thanks, Kaz. Yeah, he's my darling. Anyone that knows me knows that I live for my grandchildren. So, but he'll get better, I'm sure. He's got God on his side.
He does.
We know that. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up. We have had a big week in court. I have copied every day. Oh, beautiful Tammy, how are you, my darling? You don't usually catch my lives, but it's so good to see you in here. I'm going to have to make you a mod so you can drop your link. You too, Lenny. Please drop your links so that we don't have to. Okay, so, this has started. Hang on. Let's go back. So we had a big day in court with Erin Patterson. For people that don't know, I am going to stop this. For people that don't know, Erin Patterson, I can't even think of the date now. Hang on. She's charged with 3 murders and an attempt at murder. So she had her parent-in-laws, Donald and Gail Patterson, and Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, and Ian all go to a lunch. I think it was in November 23.
Sounds right.
No, she was charged it was April. Let me look it up. Hang on. She was charged in November. It was in July 23. So July 23 is when they had the lunch, and she was charged in the November with 3 counts of murder and 1 attempt at. And the 1 attempt at was only because one person actually survived and got better. So last week basically it was just the openings what we went through. We have got a live that we covered with that. I think last week we also got the start of was it the husband that got up first?
Yes, it was. This
Yeah.
former
So her
husband. Yeah.
husband, Simon. Now, Simon also has 3 other attempted charges of murder on her where she's tried to poison him 3 other times, but they all got dropped just before the court case started. We don't know why. This is the whack job that Lou and Mel told me about. Yep, this is our mushroom cat. That's who she is.
Yes.
Hey, Rafa, how are you? Good to see you in here. Yes, 3 other times. So there was 4 attempted charges for Simon, but they were all dropped right before the court case. We don't know why. Because our systems are different over here, we'll probably find out after the court case is finished, because now everything's just wrapped in. You're not allowed to talk about it at all. But there was 4 people that went to the dinner. The 2 children weren't there, but they did turn up later. Simon did bring the children over, but he didn't go in the house. And then they had the lunch at 12. By midnight, all of the other people were feeling sick and had been taken to hospital. So let's get into this week. Matt J, you're going to have to read some because there's like 220 slides, I think, by the time I finish this week. So Simon Patterson's memory called into question by the defence. So this is how we started the week. So what did we do? Did we have a public holiday Monday?
Yes, Labor Day, I think it was.
Okay, but it wasn't in Victoria. That's what got me. So they didn't have it on. They started on the Monday and went to Friday, but Friday we only had half a day, and today they're having off. Because, us Aussies need a break. We can't work too hard.
Yes.
I think in here they actually argue over having how many days off. But anyway. So we started Monday morning with the defence, and they began, again, focusing on Simon Patterson. So he was back up first up. And they're going over his memory in the days after the lunch when his parents and aunt and uncle were still battling illnesses in the hospital. So you got to remember too, his parents went to one hospital and his aunt and uncle went to a different hospital because it's a really small country town and they both just went to different hospitals. So Colin Mandy, who is the defence, asked whether it would be fair to say that Mr. Patterson's memory would be better in the days around the incident in 2023 than now. He asked a series of open-ended questions to Mr. Patterson. Your memory would have been better at the time than it is now about these events, Mr. Mandy said. It would be understandable now to not be able to recall the number of phone calls. It's possible you got the timing of things and the order of things wrong. So that's what the defense is saying to Simon. Now, I understand it's 2 years ago, but most of us can, if you have something traumatic happen to you, like you lose both your parents, you're going to remember that. You're going to remember how many times they called. Do you know what I mean?
You are.
Okay, my darling. I don't think they're things you're going to forget easily.
No.
So, okay, Erin's lack of curiosity about the in-laws and the health examining defense. So on Friday, Simon Patterson told the court, because remember he was the last one up on Friday. So on Friday, he told the courts that Erin Patterson did not ask how his parents were faring following the poisonous lunch. Mr. Mandy, who is the defense, presses Mr. Patterson on this point, asking if it was possible that he could simply forget that she had asked while both were in hospital. Colin Mandy, what I'm suggesting to you, Mr. Patterson, is that she asked that question, how are they going? Simon Patterson, no, I can't recall her asking that. Colin, it's possible she asked that question and you can't recall. Simon, I'd say possible, but unlikely because it stood out to me. It's a feeling I remember, which is, that's odd. Oh, what did I do then?
Yep. No, it was me by accident. Sorry.
Oh my God, I didn't press anything. Hang on. Okay, family was deeply involved in the Coonabarra community group. So the Patterson connection with the Coonabarra Community Development Association is raised by the defence. Don Patterson served as the treasurer, while his wife Gail served as the secretary, and Erin produced the Borough Flyer, a community newsletter. Mr. Mandy says all three resigned due to Gail becoming ill with whatever that word is. I can't pronounce that word.
Encephalitis?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So you can tell the families were very close because you got to remember they were Simon and her were broken up too.
Yeah.
Do you mean if she's still doing the newspaper for them? So the group chat messages re-examined by the defence. Last week we heard that Erin had messaged a group chat that included Simon, Don and Gail about her issues with her child support payments. Simon last week told the court that there were inflammatory messages and that she was being extremely aggressive. Mr. Mandy had distributed Mr. Patterson's use of the term aggressive. That's not the right way of categorizing it, is it? She was upset, she was hurt, Mr. Mandy says. I think Mr. Mandy likes telling people how things are.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could put up the messages that she messaged the group chat that I mentioned and we could see, Mr. Patterson says. Today, Mr. Mandy has prepared these messages to show the court. A few moments are needed to sort out the technical issues presenting the messages. Did I miss one then? No. Yeah. So the messages from December 5th to 2022 sent to the group Signal chat detailed Erin Patterson's concerns around Simon Patterson changing his marital status to separated. Oh, we did hear this last week.
Yeah.
The court hears that in the messages, Miss Patterson says that due to this decision, she had missed out on tens of thousands of dollars worth of child support payments. In the chat, which includes her in-laws, calls out Mr. Patterson for shrinking his finance responsibilities. I foolishly trusted that he would do right by me and the kids when it came to the crunch, she writes. In the messages, Don Patterson attempts to mediate the financial issues. Miss Patterson says that she will continue to voice her concerns in the group chat and says that she believes Don and Gail should be aware of the actions of their son, Simon, regarding their grandchildren. She raises the payment of the school fees, saying Simon must either pay for half of the fees at the children's school or she will initiate legal action. And this is the sad thing, when there is separations, kids always get brought in the middle. So Simon Patterson... Oh, sorry, go.
Oh, no, I was just saying, agreeing with you about kids being caught in the middle of these separations.
Yeah. Simon Patterson says the defence has the wrong messages. When asked about the conversation, Simon Patterson says these are not the messages he objected to when talking about aggressive messages last week in court. Mr. Mandy starts to continue his reading of the messages but is stopped by Justin Beagle, who asks if it is necessarily given that these are not the messages Mr. Patterson was referring to. So Justin Beagle is the judge. And he doesn't like time being wasted. He gets quite cranky. Further scrutiny on state of Erin and Simon's relationship. So Mr. Mandy continues with his reading of the messages. Further messages dated December 16th between Erin and Simon Patterson show relatives had thawed slightly since the previous messages. Relationships had thawed slightly since the previous ones. Erin had travelled to New Zealand for a trip with the children and sent messages back and forth with Simon detailing their travels. Messages from December 18th are then tendered as evidence. Erin writes in one message asking for a favour from Simon. I understand we don't really have the relationship right now where I can ask for favours, she writes. Hey there, I'm always your husband no matter how we're doing, Simon responded to the message. Mr. Mandy asked whether the prettiness had adapted by the time, but Simon disagrees and says there was still tension.
He was paying practically nothing in child support, so.
Yeah, I've seen it a bit. And see, most of this was earlier in the week for me. I know towards the end of the week we actually hear from her children too. And they talk about the child support. So, okay, I did not say that to Erin Court. Here's details of hospital conversation. So the defence lawyer, Colin Mandy, presses Simon on his time spent with Erin at the hospital after the lunch. We do got to be aware too, Simon has been on the stand. This would be the third day. Because remember last week he was there all of Thursday. He was up on the stand for half of Friday, and now Monday he's back. So this is his third day on the stand.
Yeah.
He asked Simon to confirm he did not spend the entire time in Erin's room. Colin Mandy, you weren't keeping Erin under constant surveillance, were you? Simon, no, that was not my style. Colin, when you say she went to the toilet once, it's obvious enough that's just what you observed. You're unable to say how many times she went to the toilet in your absence. Simon Patterson, yes. Conversation turns to the dehydrator, which the court hears Erin, Simon, and the children discussed in the hospital room. Colin, Mandy, you asked if that what you used to poison them. Simon, Patterson, I did not say that to Erin. There is silence, and we take a 5-minute break immediately after this exchange. So the dehydrator comes up more.
Ah,
Change of schools discussed. The discussion turns towards one of Erin and Simon Patterson's children. Mr. Mandy asks if there were discussions about moving one of their children to a different school in order to provide a better learning environment. In roughly May 2023 is when I was told that by Erin and my child, Mr. Patterson says. Mr. Mandy tenders more messages as evidence, these dating back to October 2021. They show Erin referring to a past conversation about the possibility of changing schools for one of the children, and Simon disagreeing with the idea. Simon Patterson claims inflammatory messages came months later. Now the Crown prosecutor... Jimmy, why did this go? Now the Crown prosecutor, Dr. Rogers, it's Lynette Rogers, but they call her Dr. Rogers, is re-examining Simon Patterson. Dr. Rogers shows Simon another message and asks if this was the inflammatory message he had in mind. He says it is not. The message I had in mind was a few months after the series of messages we've been reading this morning, Mr. Patterson said. Mr. Patterson said the anxiety Gail Patterson felt meant she had a policy of avoiding Erin's messages. Mum wouldn't read any of the messages that popped up from Erin, Mr. Patterson said, and he says that he and his father were glad this policy was in place when the inflammatory messages came through. So what, she was just sending to this signal group and no one was reading them?
yeah, I find that hard to believe.
Miss Chewy, how are you, my darling? Welcome in. Okay, he says Erin's message had come after he texted her asking if she could help get one of the kids to bed earlier because they had seemed a bit tired to him when they caught up on the weekend. I tell you what, if Mum hadn't read that, I don't know what that would have done to her, Mr. Patterson said. What was in that was inflammatory, Dr. Rogers asked. Mr. Patterson said that in the message, having a crack at him and accusing him of things in the group chat. That's not a bit I object to, he says. It was the fact that she sent it especially to Mum, knowing Mum's condition and what that could do to Mum. I'm still upset about that. Okay. Prosecutors ask about Simon's reaction. I'm going to have to move. No, hang on. I had to move that off. I couldn't see the words. Prosecutor to ask about Simon's reaction to Erin's reported illness. So last week we heard that Erin Patterson had told her lunch guests she'd been diagnosed with cancer, a claim which was false. Another lie.
Why?
Dr. Rogers asked Simon Patterson why he didn't contact his parents after the lunch to inquire about Erin Patterson's medical issue. He says it was Erin's news to tell and he wanted to respect that. I would have been putting Don and Gail in an uncomfortable position, he says. Dr. Rogers asked why he didn't directly contact Erin about her serious medical issue, which she had mentioned when inviting him to lunch. Mr. Patterson says he was confused by the fact that Although it was an important medical issue, there seemed a lack of urgency to discuss it, given the lunch was weeks away. I remember feeling puzzled after she invited me to the lunch that although she'd communicated it was a serious medical issue to be talked about, it was going to be weeks later that the issue was going to be discussed. I couldn't recall those two facts. And I think it came out too that she used to actually use her medical conditions a lot to play with Simon. So I think that's why he didn't jump when this one came about.
Oh, of course.
And what did she do? She was lying about this one too. Erin Patterson's previous hospital visits. Dr. Rogers asked Simon Patterson about previous visits Erin had made to the hospital. Previously, Simon told the court that Erin hates hospitals. He recounts two previous incidents, one before their marriage and once after the birth of their child, when Erin left the hospital before being discharged or discharged herself despite hospital advice. Well, as adults, a lot of us hate hospitals, but
You just have to suck it up.
yeah. And the hearing has taken a break. The jury has left the room while Erin Patterson's murder trial takes an adjournment. So it was only like a 15-minute break, but we didn't know how long. Again, Aussies need breaks.
Yes.
Can't work too hard. Okay, so more focus on the group chat messages. He gets off soon, don't worry. Earlier, there was a big focus on messages. Hi, Jody.
Oh,
There was a big focus on the messages sent in the group chat that included. Did I just read this one?
Yeah.
No. Erin Patterson, Simon Patterson, and Simon's parents, John and Gail. This came after last week. Simon Patterson indicated. Yeah, I think I did. I think I've gone backwards, not forwards.
Oh.
We're back from the break.
Yes, this must be it.
We return from lunch and have a new witness on the stand. Prosecutor Sarah Lentil is speaking with Christine Hunt, an online friend of Erin Patterson's. They initially met through a Kelly Lane true crime Facebook group, which turned into a smaller group of between 7 to 15 people. She says that she never met Erin in person, but had a handful of phone calls with Erin. Now, I think we hear from 2 or 3 of the people from this group, and I am actually in a couple of Kelly Lane Facebook groups, and people have been talking about her in there. So this is just off the record, saying that she was banned from a lot of the groups. So
I wonder why that was.
I know. I'll try and find the post that went up in the Kelly Lane when I'm in about her. I should have put it in here. Okay, Kelly Lane Facebook group explained. In the opening argument, prosecutor Lynette Rogers, or Dr. Rogers, made particular mention of a true crime Facebook group that Erin Patterson had joined and made friends through. The group centered around Kelly Lane, a woman convicted of killing her baby daughter in one of Australia's most notorious criminal cases. The court heard that Miss Patterson participated in the group using Facebook profiles named Erin Patterson, Erin, and Erin. Over time, some of the participants of the group formed closer connections and began separate Facebook groups with one another, with discussions extending to news, current affairs, and their personal lives, Dr. Rogers said. I'm banned from What's Free for All Reddit. Should we ask why?
It's the what's case do we need to ask?
What have you done, Jodie? Facebook friend says Erin described relationship with coerce. Is it coerce? Relationship with Simon?
Coercive?
Miss Hunt, yeah, I think you got it right. Coercive relationship with Simon. Miss Hunt is asked to characterize the relationship between Erin and Simon. She says that Erin had painted a negative picture of their relationship. There were challenges. She didn't like it. She seemed unsettled whenever the kids were around, Miss Hunt says. The terms of coerce and abuse was the sort of sense that we were given. She never seemed happy with his follow-up and his commitment with what was happening. Oh. We need not ask any more.
No, self-explanatory.
Oh, spirit time.
Oh.
Did your membership go?
Yeah.
Welcome in. So more from Miss Hunt. Miss Hunt tells the court that Erin Patterson gave the impression of a loving and devoted mother. She says words such as controlling and cohesive were words used by Erin to describe Simon. Miss Hunt says the term abusive may have been her own term to describe what she knew of the relationship. They may be my term from the fact the coercive is an abuser. There we are, 24 months. That looks better.
Yeah.
Moving on. 24 months.
Damn.
Thank you so much.
Some of these words, eh?
I know. Erin told internet friends that she was an atheist, caught his. But she was okay. Erin Patterson's Christian beliefs have been raised by the defense. We've heard during the trial that Erin was a frequent visitor to the Kumbara Baptist Church where Ian Wilkinson served as a pastor. She also helped live stream the church services along with her father-in-law, Don, the court has heard. However, Erin's online friend, Christine Hunt, says that Miss Patterson told the group that she was an atheist. I think she was two-sided on that. She went to church because of the family situation, she tells the court. She was saying to us publicly that she didn't necessarily believe in God.
Interesting. So I don't know, was she like using it sort of to keep tabs on things, maybe?
Well, it's strange it should get into such a relationship and anyway. So this is another Facebook friend. So as I said, there was like 2 or 3 of the Facebook ones. Facebook friend Danielle Barkley gives a testimony. Another Facebook friend of Erin Patterson, Danielle Barkley, is called as a witness via video link. Miss Barkley tells the court that she first became aware of Erin Patterson in 2019 in the True Crime Facebook group. She confirms that Miss Patterson initially had an account named Erin Patterson, then Erin, and then finally Erin. She had such an imagination, didn't she?
What's
like the names? Erin.
Yeah.
As mentioned by Christine Hunt, the initial true crime group dissolved and reformed with a smaller number of members. The group shared news articles and current affairs with each other. She says in the final group of 18 to 20 people, including herself, Christine Hunt and Erin Patterson eventually formed. For the first few years, Erin was quite active in there, Miss Barkley says. In the last year or so, she barely posted in there. Miss Barkley says that when she did post, she would comment on news articles on certain true crime cases. Gee, that doesn't sound familiar.
Nope.
So, Facebook friend questioned over Erin and Simon's marriage. Miss Barkley is asked about the relationship between Erin and Simon Patterson. She tells the court that Erin would tell a small Facebook group of 5 people about her marriage, just sometimes about how sad she felt, about how he was just so religious and how it was so difficult to get along with him, she says. Miss Barkley says Erin would describe how Simon would favour one of his children over the other. She would post that he wasn't a very nice person. She didn't want the kids to sleep over at his house just because she wasn't very happy with the way he lived. And Miss Barkley says that Erin described times when she felt Simon prioritised the church over his children. Erin told friends, "I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything," the court hears. Miss Barkley, this is important, Miss Barkley tells the jury that Erin Patterson had felt excited that she had brought a food dehydrator and had shared images of her drying mushrooms into a private group chat with her. Did she say what she had been using the dehydrator for? Miss Lenthal asked. Just for the mushrooms. A screenshot of a Facebook comment is shown to the court. It reads, "I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything. Mixed it into the chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea." Miss Barkley says that Erin posted this comment. Now, remember last week, her children didn't like mushrooms.
Ugh. What? How many lies for this now? Because I didn't bring the alcohol.
We're supposed to be doing shots for each one.
Yeah.
So more Facebook screenshots are shown to the court. More comments from Erin Patterson are shown to the court, with Erin expressing amazement over how much the dehydrator would shrink the mass of the mushrooms. Miss Bakley tells the court that the messages were sent to a private Facebook group in the months preceding to the July 29th lunch. Okay, Erin Patterson discussed the beef Wellington with her online friends. Miss Bakley says that the group would often discuss cooking as it was a major topic of discussion. She tells the court that beef Wellington was raised by Erin Patterson in the weeks before the lunch. Erin asked the group if anyone had cooked the beef Wellington before and if they had any advice. Miss Bakley says, when was the question asked? Miss Lentil asked, I believe it was 2 weeks before the lunch. Miss Bakley says that she specifically remembers the conversation. I can't even get my words out because she's mostly vegetarian and didn't know what beef Wellington was. She says she joked about making a tofu Wellington, which several people in the group thought would be awful. She says the last time the group heard about the beef Wellington was towards the end of July, when Erin expressed difficulty in finding a cut of meat due to the expense. The defense begins... Oh, sorry, go.
The defense begins questioning Daniela Barkley. Is that what it says?
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to read it at the moment.
I can read it. Try. Colin Mandy SC begins his cross-examination of Daniel Barkley. So now the defence has her. More in the Beef Wellington. Mr. Mandy asks about Erin Patterson as a mother. Her life appeared to revolve around her children, Miss Barkley said. Absolutely it did. That's all she appeared to care about. I thought she was a wonderful mother. Miss Barkley says that the cookbook recipe Tin Eats was a prominent feature of the online group's discussions. She says other members of the group had made beef Wellington before and it was a loved dish for the group. Miss Barkley tells the court that Erin had mentioned her love of mushrooms to the group.
What the?
I always knew that about her. Yep, she says. One thing I do got to say, do you know what I mean? This court case is all I've been doing all week. And none of these people getting up, from Simon himself, I know Ian gets up soon because he was another big one. I mean, you had these Facebook friends on. None of them, she wasn't affected by anyone. But they played, I'm sure MacJ will come back. They played the videos of her children when they were getting interviewed, and she actually cried. So, yeah. Erin Patterson cleaned estranged husband's house, court hears. In his final question, Mr. Mandy again raises the issue of Simon Patterson's cleanliness. Colin Mandy, did she also tell you that she'd been to his house to clean it? Danielle Barkley. She reluctantly told us that Miss Barkley is dismissed and the final witness of the day, a Facebook friend called Jenny Hay, is called to give evidence. You right?
No, it's just StreamYard's kicked me out, and
We can still hear you now. Okay, Erin's focused on mushrooms discussion. Did you ever discuss mushrooms? Prosecutor Sarah asks. Yes, Miss Hay replies. In particular, did Erin Patterson ever talk about the mushrooms in the group? Miss Lentil asked. Around February-March 23, Erin had brought a dehydrator, seemed to be using it particularly to dehydrate mushrooms, Miss Hayes says. Miss Hayes described Erin's process of powdering mushrooms and putting them in food. However, she says there was no mention about foraging mushrooms. Miss Hayes says towards the end of July, Miss Patterson discussed making a beef Wellington. And back. They must be changing stuff again. Stop it.
yeah, they must be.
Because every time they change stuff, we have trouble.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, Jenny Hay questioned by the prosecution. So Jenny Hay is asked about the connection to Erin Patterson. I've never met her in person, but I've known her online, she says. She explains how they initially connected through the Kelly Lane Facebook group before joining into the smaller 5-person chat group around the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Miss Hay confirms that Erin's Facebook name was changed to Erin and then Erin.
Mm-hmm.
Phone conversations between Jenny Hay and Erin Patterson after the lunch. On the Monday following the poisonous lunch, Miss Hay says that she spoke with Erin Patterson for about 10 minutes over the phone. Erin emailed me on the Monday morning via my work email and asked me to call her, she says. I don't think she answered. I think she called me back Called me back, but I ended up speaking with her on the phone. Prosecutor Sarah Lenton asked if Erin mentioned where the mushrooms came from. She said that they came from an Asian grocery store, Miss Hayes says. Miss Lentil asked if Erin said anything about her illness. She said she was sick and was in hospital. Miss Lentil asked if Erin said anything about her children eating the meal. Yes, she said that they had ate some of the meal. So the defence questions Erin's online friend Jenny Hay. Defence barrister Colin Mandy is up next to question Erin Patterson's online friend Jenny Hay. He has Miss Hay reaffirm many parts of her and the other Facebook friends' testimonies. This includes Erin's passion for mushrooms, Erin's diligence as a mother, and the advice Miss Hay gave for a non-soggy beef Wellington. I suggested she wrap the pastry as close as possible to putting it in the oven, Miss Hay tells the court. It concludes after just a minute or two, and Miss Hay is dismissed. So court adjourns. The three Facebook friends are the final witnesses for today, and Justice Beagle adjourns the court for the day. So 6 things that we learnt from today. Oh, this writing got small. Proceedings have finished for the day in courtroom 4. We saw the end of Simon Patterson's testimony, as well as the introduction of 3 new witnesses in the form of Erin Patterson's friends. Christine Hunt, Danielle Barkley, and Jenny Hay provided their testimonies about Erin Patterson's online correspondence in the weeks and months leading up to the July 29th lunch. Here's what we learned. Simon Patterson remains upset about an inflammatory message sent to the group chat by Erin while messages was not read out in court. Simon says the message accused him of certain things in front of his parents and that he was still upset by it. Simon denies accusing Erin in the hospital room in court. Simon denies accusing Erin in the hospital room in court today. Simon was asked if he said to Erin during the conversation mentioning the dehydrator, "Is that what you used to poison them?" Simon denies ever having said this. Erin told Facebook friends that she was in a controlling relationship with Simon. Christine Hunt, a Facebook friend of Erin's, told the court that Erin had described her marriage as controlling and coercive, and that she was unhappy with Simon's level of family commitment. Erin's Christian faith was called into question. One of the Facebook friends said that despite attending church, Erin was openly an atheist online and had described clashes stemming from Simon's rigid religious beliefs. Erin was excited about her dehydrator and had used it to dry mushrooms. Erin's Facebook friends confirmed that Erin had posted about hiding powdered mushrooms in food and posted photos of the dehydrator. Erin consulted her friends about making a beef Wellington. Her Facebook friend said that she had asked for advice about making the dish and had asked if other cuts of meat could be substituted after experimenting difficulty finding a cut of meat. And that's funny because she actually it comes out that she made individual ones. So beef Wellington is a very hard dish to make by itself, but she actually made individual beef Wellingtons.
Interesting.
Beautiful Miss Sharon, how are you, my darling? And happy Mother's Day to all the mums for yesterday too, or the ones in America for today. So court update so this was the start of Tuesday. So all that was Monday. So we had the rest of Simon and then the 3 Facebook friends on Monday. Ian Wilkinson arrives at the court. The only guest who survived the lunch at Erin Patterson's house, Ian Wilkinson is expected to give evidence at the trial today. And this was him. But he's actually looking quite good now, considering.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because you are a Wonder Woman. Yay. I had a beautiful day with all my kids too until my grandson got really sick. But I got spoiled and then we sat in there and watched Mamma Mia. Because that's our movie. Okay. So who is Ian Wilkinson? We've seen Ian Wilkinson arrive at the court this morning and he's expected to give evidence today. Ian Wilkinson is the husband of Heather Wilkinson, with whom he had 4 children. Heather passed on August 4th, 2023 after eating the beef Wellington meal prepared by Erin. Ian Wilkinson has served as a pastor at the Cumbarian Baptist Church. I can't even read my own writing. Since 1999. In February last year, Ian returned to the church to deliver his first sermon since recovering from the mushroom poisoning. He told his Cumbaran Baptist Church congregated his faith remaining strong. Businesses that allegedly sold Erin Patterson's dehydrator gives evidence. So Darren Fox, the owner and manager of Hartley Wells Better Home Living in Leongathan.
Yeah, Leongatha, I don't know. Yeah.
I hear it all week, and by Friday I've got it, and then I just lose it because I hear it all week. I think it's Leongathan. Leongathan is called to the witness box. It is this store where the prosecutor says that Erin Patterson purchased her dehydrator. He says one of his employees told him in November 2023 that they believed they had sold a dehydrator to Erin earlier in the year. After a search of his sale records, Mr. Fox says that an invoice was found showing Erin had bought a Sunbeam Food Lab electric dehydrator. The invoice is shown to the court showing a price of $229. And this is the dehydrator that she bought.
Wow.
Of course, we don't get the evidence ones, but...
Nope.
Ian Wilkinson called to the witness box. So Ian Wilkinson is the only surviving member of the lunch party besides Erin Patterson and is called to give evidence. He fell seriously ill following the lunch. Mr. Wilkinson had served as a pastor at the Cumbaran Baptist Church since 1999. His voice quivers as he takes the oath by the Bible. Yeah, it is. If I remember correctly, too, she ends up, I think it comes out later, but by memory, they actually she looked up 2 places where the mushrooms, like the poisonous mushrooms were. They have her pinging at those areas, and where she bought the dehydrator was close to one of those towns.
Oh, wow.
So I think that, yeah. Anyway, Mr. Wilkinson lets out a gentle laughter when talking about his wife. Ian Wilkinson confirms that he met his wife, Heather, in 1979 and had 4 children with her. He recounts the family history of Heather. He gently laughs at the end of some of his answers. Heather was the baby of the family, he says, when discussing her siblings. Prosecutor established the family situation. As the prosecutor, Jane Warren, takes Mr. Wilkinson through some questions establishing the basic family dynamics, she reminds him to keep his voice raised so that the jury can hear him. He receives advice in good humour. Okay, thank you, he laughs. You think he'd be used to talking loud because of the church?
Yeah, you'd think so. But if he's laughing, I wonder if he's saying it, like, because he's like not nervous, still upset. So he's like,
Yeah, he's probably going
laughing.
through a lot of. Do you mean he wouldn't have been able to say his final goodbye till this court case is finished?
Yeah.
I think. She just seems like a normal person, surviving guest says. Ian Wilkinson is answering questions about his relationship with Erin Patterson. I would say our relationship was friendly and amicable. It didn't have much depth. We were more likely acquaintances, he said. He explains Erin helped at the Cumbaran Baptist Church by assisting with the broadcasting of the services on YouTube. Ian says they would sometimes talk about family and relations when they met at the church. He says his wife Heather saw Erin more frequently, but he didn't consider the relationship to be close. When asked what his impression of Erin was, he says that she just seemed like a normal person. When we met, things were friendly. We never had an argument or dispute. So I do also know this was the first time that Ian and Heather had gone to Erin's house too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and Jodie just said a nervous laugh.
Yeah. Could have been. I mean, it's a shame we don't get it like America does, where it's broadcast.
Oh, trust me, I'm sitting there like, come on, when's my next update? Come on, update me. Spirit Time laughs at me. And I don't leave my office all week. It's just like, my kids have been coming down. Are you still doing that one? Yes.
Yes.
Enjoy it. We've got another 3 weeks. It's going to be worse when Idaho goes.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a long one.
Won't sleep.
I think Leanie's doing that one. I'll be up watching it on Leanie's.
Yeah.
I think she's going to telecast it all. Anyway, Ian Wilkinson says that he didn't regularly visit Erin. So Mr. Wilkinson says he didn't often visit Erin Patterson's house, but did visit her once with his wife Heather. He says that they spoke to Erin on her doorstep. Ian says that he dined with Erin at family occasions and Christmas parties that were usually held at Don and Gail Patterson's house. Jodie, have you seen the Dateline one? I was just saying to Matt J, I've got a way for us to watch it, so.
Awesome. Yeah, we miss all the good documentaries.
All right. Later, me and Mac J are going to do a watching of it, so any Aussies that want to watch it and can't, grab hold of one of us and we'll bring you in on our little private viewing.
Yes.
Miss Sharon, I'll give you the link in Discord so that you can come in if you want to come watch. I've got the whole episode. I just can't play it on YouTube, so I can open a private StreamYard and we can just all come in and watch it. Contact us after this. We'll organise a time and we'll play it. Us Aussies have got a way to get these stuff.
Yes.
Because everyone's talking about it right now too, what's annoying me. Because I want to watch it first.
It's everywhere.
But I have been watching Drunk Turkey too for updates on it.
For updates, yeah.
Okay, lunch guests hoped the relationship with Erin was going to improve. So Mr. Wilkinson says most of the interactions with Erin Patterson had come as social gatherings, such as Christmas parties at Don and Gail Patterson's house. The prosecutor begins to question Mr. Wilkinson about the July 29th lunch. He confirms an invite was extended at lunch with his wife Heather, although he wasn't present at the time. Miss Warren asks him how he and Heather reacted to the lunch invite. She was fairly excited. I can't remember in detail, he says with a laugh. There was no reason given for lunch, and I remember talking to Heather, wondering why the sudden invitation. Mr. Wilkinson says that he says the pair were very happy to be invited. It seemed like maybe our relationship with Erin was going to improve. He says Mr. Wilkinson says that they discovered soon after that Don Gale and Simon Patterson had also been invited. The interview room was great. I did watch some of that, but I was sitting in a doctor's surgery, so I've got to go back and watch the end. They had like 6.5k people watching it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But I want to watch the actual thing first. Okay. Where was I up to? So Miss Warren asked him how he and Heather reacted to the lunch. I've done that one. Okay, I think I've done that one.
Yeah.
So Erin Patterson is watching Ian Wilkinson's evidence closely. To paint the courtroom scene, Ian Wilkinson is seated in the witness box wearing a black vest and a grey-coloured shirt. To his right is a plastic water bottle he's brought into court, and in front he has a microphone and a computer screen to view any exhibits that might be shown to the court. The church pastor's voice is soft, and at times he smiles and warmly and chuckles when providing his answers to Prosecutor Jane Warren. Erin Patterson is in the court dock about 10 metres away. She's listening intently, a neutral look on her face. Heather Wilkinson's diary shown to the court. A picture of Heather Wilkinson's colourful green 2023 diary is being shown to the court. The page covers the week of July, commencing the 24th, 2023. On the critical date of June 29th, it says errands for lunch.
Interesting.
Ian Wilkinson recaps previous meals in July. The prosecutor has Ian Wilkinson recount some of the meals in the days prior to the July 29th lunch. Mr. Wilkinson recounts a pub meal, a barbecue birthday dinner with family, and a breakfast on the morning of July 29th. He says he cannot recall what he and Heather had for breakfast on that morning. I had porridge basically every morning for breakfast, so I probably had a nice bowl of porridge, he says, with a laugh. Probably is a nervous laugh.
Yeah, I think you're right. Nervous.
The couple then walked down the street to buy a newspaper and continued on to a local cafe for a coffee with neighbours.
Yeah.
The question turned to the day of the lunch. Ian explains that he and his wife Heather travelled together with Don and Gail Patterson to the lunch at Erin Patterson's house. He says when they first arrived, Heather noted that Simon Patterson's car was not at the property. "Oh, Simon's car's not here," Mr. Wilkinson recalls her saying. He recalls either Don or Gail saying that Simon would not be at the lunch. Erin very reluctant for guests to visit the pantry. Ian says that the guests exchanged pleasantries with Erin Patterson and they spoke about the house. He says Erin mentioned the pantry at the house and says that he recalls Heather asking whether she could look at Erin's pantry. Heather was interested in pantries at the time as the Wilkinsons had been completing some home improvements. Ian says that Erin was very reluctant about the visit to the pantry. "I thought maybe the pantry's a mess, an embarrassment," he says. He says he didn't go to look at the pantry.
Interesting.
What
I
was
mean,
she
maybe
hiding?
if he had, maybe he would
He would
have
have seen some
identified
ingredients.
it. Yeah.
The court is learning about Erin Patterson's dining room layout. Mr. Wilkinson had described Erin Patterson's dining room as an open-plan kitchen and dining room, and images being displayed to the court, showing the long rectangle wooden dining table with 5 chairs around it. Underneath the table is a small grey rug. To the left of the picture, you can see the white kitchen bench where the ladies were standing around. Ian Wilkinson says that he did not see the beef Wellington being prepared. He tells the court that he saw Erin Patterson working at the kitchen island bench opposite to where the other guests were standing. "The only preparation I saw was potatoes being mashed. I saw food being plated up," he says. Because she'd already made them.
Yes.
So the beef Wellington's very much like a pastry, court hears. So Ian Wilkinson says that Erin plated all the food despite offers for help. Both Heather and Gail were offering to help plate up the food, Mr. Wilkinson says. The offer was rejected and Erin played it. He says he did not see... Hey?
I was just saying, I can't imagine why she rejected the offer.
He says he did not see where the beef Wellingtons on the plate had come from before it was plated. Each person had an individual serve. It was very much like a pastry, if you can imagine a pastry being put on a plate, Mr. Wilkinson says. It was a pastry case, and when we cut into it, there was steak and mushrooms. So see what I mean, how she made individual ones?
Yes.
What's even harder than making a big one?
She definitely pre-prepared them, maybe? Like, be interesting.
Well, that's what he's saying. He only saw the mashed potato.
Like as if she was making sure to get the
right ones.
Yeah, the right amount of poison, maybe.
Because remember last week there was the different plate colours. All of them had grey plates and she had an orange tan one or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think the kids had... Didn't the kids also have
leftovers the next day? But she scraped the mushrooms off theirs.
Interesting.
Okay, the prosecutor says that asks about the plates used at lunch, which Ian says were on the kitchen bench. There were 4 large grey dinner plates, here we go, and 1 smaller plate, a different colour. It was orangey tan colour. Mr. Wilkinson says Gail picked up 2 of the grey plates and Heather picked up 2 of the grey plates. He said Erin picked up the odd plate and carried it to her place at the table. No formal seating arrangement. Ian is now talking about where guests sat at the lunch. There was no formal arrangement for where people sat. It was a casual arrangement. We just seemed to naturally sit down in a place, he says. He's marking where each guest sat on a photo supplied to the court. So Erin ate from a different coloured plate, Ian tells the court. The prosecutor has Ian confirm to the court about who ate from each plate. I ate from a grey plate, he says. Heather, Miss Warren asks, a grey plate. Don, a grey plate. Gail, a grey plate. Erin, the rusty coloured plate.
Wow.
Went from an orange tan to rust. Ian says that there was a little conversation mostly about the meal. Ian is now explaining how much of the meal was eaten by the guests and says he and Heather ate their whole meal, while Don ate his entire meal and half of Gail's beef Wellington, as Gail couldn't finish the whole meal. That's what I remember. That's why I remember there was talk about husbands helping their wives out by eating extra food, Mr. Wilkinson says. Well, that's right. I have spirit time finished, but I can't. Heather mentioned how we should have shared the beef Wellington because she had thought the meal was a bit of a large size for her. So that's the reason I remember who ate what, because of that little exchange. We can't say it for certain how much Erin ate, but she was definitely eating. So guests have cake and fruit for dessert. Ian says that Gail had brought a cake to the lunch while Heather had organised a fruit platter. But he tells the court that the five of them did not eat much of that either. Not much cake was consumed, not much fruit was consumed. We were all fairly full from the main course, he said. Ian says that he is unsure whether the same plates were used for the dessert as for the main course. He recalls only having a glass of water at the lunch to drink. The court has taken a short break. There's a pause in the hearing to give jurors and the legal teams a break. You can't overwork these people. The hearing has resumed. Pastor Ian Wilkinson, the sole surviving guest of Erin Patterson's lunch, is given evidence. He's being examined by prosecutor Jane Warren. Before the court, they've been moving chronically through the events leading up to the lunch. He shared that the guests at Erin's lunch had little space for cake and fruit after the substantial beef Wellington meals, which also included mashed potatoes and green beans.
Interesting.
Erin, hey?
I was saying, do you want me to read one? Say, give
Yeah,
your
you
voice
can read
a
it.
break. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Ian
If you have
Wilkinson. Yeah? Okay. Ian Wilkinson says following the lunch, Erin Patterson told the guests her medical concerns. After the lunch, Erin announced that she had cancer, he says. She believed it was very serious, life-threatening. He says she asked the guests advice about telling the children about what she called this threat to my life. Ian says Erin told the guests about a diagnostic test she'd had that showed a tumor on a scan. He tells the court that Don spoke first and said it would be best to be honest with the children. In a moment of tension like that, maybe more time passes than you think. but I would say it was a relatively short conversation, he says. Ian says the conversation was broken up by the arrival of one of Erin's child with a friend. There you go.
Yeah, it just takes 5 seconds for the next one. So witnesses' chair sinks on Ian. There's laughter in the courtroom as the gas goes out of Mr. Wilkinson's chair and he sinks out of view. Oh my god. Mr. Wilkinson resurfaces and it is apparent he is okay. We do this to all our witnesses, Justice Christopher Beale jokes, to laugh in the courtroom. Even Erin Patterson has a weary smile on her face. I feel secure, Mr. Wilkinson says. We can carry on. I hate that. I get that on my chair all the time. Lunch guests pray for Erin. So Ian says that he led a prayer following the lunch, asking for God's blessing on Erin during her treatments. Sorry. He also asked for wisdom for when she would have to speak with her children. After the prayer, conversation quickly changed topics as Erin's children entered the house. So the kids were at a movie. Simon brought them home, but Simon didn't come into the house. So Ian explains that he and the other guests left Erin Patterson's house and attended a meeting as planned around 3 p.m. He doesn't recall what he and Heather ate for their evening meal, and they went to bed a little later than normal, about 10 p.m. He also prepared for his church sermon, which was to be delivered the following day. Ian says that he was feeling okay in the evening, but heard his wife Heather get up during the night and be physically ill. I don't think either of us were quite asleep when Heather got up abruptly out of bed and made her way into the laundry, and she was vomiting, he said. After a short while, Ian said that he had begun to feel ill. We were starting to feel pretty washed out. I was vomiting fairly regularly. While symptoms abated slightly, both Heather and Ian stayed in separate bathrooms all evening.
Wow.
Ian explained that he and his wife Heather were ill numerous times during the night. I was vomiting fairly regularly. He explains that he camped outside one of the toilets in the house while his wife stayed near another bathroom in the house. They both experienced vomiting and diarrhea. The next morning, Ian says that he let his church know someone else would have to run the Sunday service. So Ian Wilkinson says that he spoke to Simon Patterson on the phone and he convinced them to go to the hospital. Simon Patterson ended up driving Ian and Heather to Cumbaran Hospital and was told there was no room at the hospital, so he drove them to Leningatha Hospital. So that's why they ended up in 2 different hospitals.
Got it.
Ian is asked about the plates at lunch. He says that Heather had raised the point when wondering why they had fallen ill. The conversation that I remember was at the Leningathan Hospital. We might have discussed it a couple of times. Actually, Heather reminded me that there were different plates. He says Heather had noticed the different coloured plates that Erin had used. Ian tells the court that after arriving at the hospital, the lunch was quickly identified as the possible cause of the poisoning. Suspicion had fallen on the meat, he says, and Ian says that the mushrooms were not initially considered by medical staff as a cause. Ian says he continued experiencing the diarrhea during the day on the ward, although he wanted to go home. The doctors were not satisfied with Ian and Heather's health, so the couple stayed the evening and slept. We did get some sleep. We were absolutely exhausted by this time, he says. Upon waking, they were rushed in their beds to an urgent care ward by nurses. Ian says a doctor then informed them of correspondence with Dandenong Hospital and discovered a potential mushroom poisoning. They were advised of time-critical treatment available and the need to transfer them to Dandenong Hospital. Ian says he was taken in the first ambulance and Heather was taken in the second. He says that he was aware that Erin Patterson was also at the Leongathan Hospital at this time. Hey Kylie, welcome in.
Okay.
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. Ian Wilkinson loses weeks of memory following death cap poisoning. Ian says the last thing he remembers being given a charcoal substance to drink at Dandenong
Dandelion.
Hospital. Yeah. He tells the court he remembers being put into a pod next to Don and Gail Patterson, but did not have a conversation with them. The prosecution tells him he was intubated, transferred to the Austin Hospital for death cap mushroom poisoning. Ian says he is now aware of these facts. His hospital journey and recovery is recounted to him, and he confirms he was eventually discharged on September 21st.
Yeah. So Dandenong Hospital is specialised in bowel.
Yeah, that's right. But what I want to know is why they didn't check, like, they suspected the meat, but why didn't they check the mushroom, like, at the same time, you know?
I guess they were just thinking meat first. Your instant
Yeah.
reaction is your meat. Because normal people don't go out and pick the death caps.
Yeah.
Ian Wilkinson says that he was not present when Erin Patterson offered the lunch invitation to his wife Heather. He says he didn't know that the other people were invited, but he was very happy to attend. Ian confirms that with Mr. Mandy, some of the previous evidence he gave about arriving at Erin Patterson's house for the lunch and the conversations that had happened before the lunch itself. It was clear to you that Erin was proud of the house that she invited you to, Mr. Mandy says. I don't believe it was all that clear, Mr. Wilkinson replied. So I know she had just built this house, or just had this house built, so that's why they're probably asking whether she was proud.
Yeah.
A debate over whether Erin Patterson was house proud became a protracted discussion. Mr. Mandy asked whether it was Ian's impression that Erin was proud of her house, which Ian disagreed with. After a pause, Mr. Mandy brings up a previous statement made by Ian that said he believed Erin was in fact proud of the house. On reflection, I found those answers were not satisfactory, he says. I haven't thought a great deal about the house and Erin being proud of the house and that sort of thing before you asked me those questions. Those questions weren't a fair representation of the events. Ian says that there was no tour of the house and Erin's house did not form a big part of the group's conversation. They eventually overcome the impasse and Ian agrees that Erin was probably proud of having built her home. Okay, Colin Mandy continues his questioning of Ian Wilkinson's memory over previous statements. He says Mr. Wilkinson remembers the beef Wellington being served from a tray. When Ian says that he cannot recall, Mr. Mandy raises a statement made by Ian to police on September 5th, 2023, where he was recruiting in the Austin hospital. Mr. Mandy says that Ian mentioned the beef Wellington being served from a tray in his statement. Has that refreshed your memory? Mr. Mandy asks. Ian says that he thinks it has, and he now believes he can picture it in his mind. There is a long pause before Mr. Mandy suggests the court breaks for lunch. Court breaks for lunch. Erin Patterson's trial has been adjourned for a lunch break. So, seating arrangements on July 29th. During the testimony, the prosecution had Ian draw the diagram of the seating arrangements, and this is where he said, so Gail and Don were sitting next to each other down one side, Heather and Erin were down the other, and Ian was at the head of the table.
Yep.
Just to put into perspective where... So this is just another one that I've just put in because they were on lunch. I was bored. I just thought I'd put in. So down the bottom is obviously Erin and Simon, who were married. And up the top on this side, above Simon, I don't know if you can, no, you can't see. So above Simon is his parents, Gail and Don, who both passed. Heather was Gail's sister, who also passed, and then Ian, who we've just had up on the stand.
Yes.
It's an hour lunch break, so you can see why I get bored and just... Okay, we resumed now. The hearing has resumed. So Erin Patterson's defence lawyer, Colin Mandy, is cross-examining Ian, the sole survivor of the lunch. He takes Mr. Wilkinson back to the point in the lunch where Erin was plating up. So we went back and forth a lot, as you can see.
Yeah, back and forth.
Mr. Mandy, well, the prosecution has 3 people doing their prosecution, and then you got the defence.
And they've only got one.
Yeah, defence has got one, Mr. Mandy. So Mr. Mandy has Ian Wilkinson confirm that when Heather and Gail each grabbed 2 plates, there was no direction as to who should sit where. Any one of you of the 4 guests could have sat in any one of the spots, Mr. Mandy says. Yes, he says. Mr. Mandy suggests that Mr. Wilkinson that there were in fact no grey plates used at all that day. Ian disagrees and says he remembers there were being 4 grey plates. He says he did not recall how much Erin ate of her lunch as attention was drawn otherwise as to whether it was all or some of a very small portion of her plate. You can't say with any real authority, Mr. Mandy says. I can't say.
Okay.
Mr. Mandy is now taking Mr. Wilkinson back to a statement he made in September 2023. Now, remember, all these statements were made while he was in hospital. So he still would have been really sick and foggy from all the medication. So, I don't know. September 2023, and the importance of the statement. Mr. Wilkinson agrees that he read over the statement and agreed with everything in it and would have taken the opportunity to change anything if he wanted. Mr. Mandy puts it to Mr. Wilkinson that he told police that Erin Patterson said that she had suspected cancer. Mr. Wilkinson says that he thinks she was saying that she thought she had cancer. She plainly said that she had some sort of cancer. Her voice was low at some points, he says. This was a serious situation. I think the rain's coming again. We're getting heaps of rain. Are you getting heaps of rain up there, Mac Joe?
Yeah, we did yesterday. We might be getting some more today.
Yeah, it's coming up and down here. Okay, Mr. Mandy drives home the word suspect, which Ian used in the earlier police statement. I think I was probably understanding things, Ian Wilkinson says, so it wasn't the truth, Mr. Mandy says. Ian reinstates it wasn't an impression he had formed, but that he definitely believed that she had cancer after the lunch. Erin was fairly clear that the diagnosis was given, he says. We'll send you some, Miss Sharon. I hung my washing out on Saturday and I'm still waiting for it to dry, and the rain today is just on and off.
Oh, wow.
Testimony of Ian Wilkinson ends. The defence lawyer Colin Mandy has finished questioning Ian Wilkinson, and now it's back to the prosecution. Prosecutor Jane Warren simply asked Mr. Wilkinson to confirm that the lunch conversation about the children was confined to the topic of the cancer diagnosis, which he confirmed. This marks the end of Mr. Wilkinson's evidence today. Welcome back, Kylie. Ian didn't, but Don and Gail and Heather did. So she's up on 3 counts of murder and one of attempted murder for Ian. So all 4 got sick, but 3 passed away. Ian was the only survivor. And of course, Erin, because we don't think she had the mushrooms. The next witness appeared in Cindy Hyde, who was working as a patient transfer officer for the Ambulance Victoria in July 2023. She confirmed that she travelled in an ambulance to Coonabarra to attend at the home of Don and Gail Patterson. She says that they told her they were ill after eating a meal, which John Patterson described as a beef stroganoff. I'm sure she's had a lovely Mother's Day.
Yeah.
As I said, the only time I've seen her actually get upset in this court was when they played her kids. Like, it was the only time I saw her actually get upset. She cried.
Oh my God.
Don and Gail are seriously ill in the hospital before being taken to hospital. So Miss Hyde describes Don and Gail as being ill in the house, showing signs of gastro-type illness. She says Don was vomiting in the house before they began transporting the couple to the hospital via ambulance. The court heard the journey took around 3 minutes. The defence has no questions for Miss Hyde and she is dismissed. Nurse Lisa Shannon is next up in the witness box. Miss Shannon has worked for 5 years at the Coonabarra Hospital, which has two beds in its urgent care unit. The setup at the hospital means that one nurse cares for both patients. Miss Shannon says that at about 10 a.m. the day after the lunch, both Don and Gail presented to the urgent care and reported their symptoms. Donald was considerably sicker than Gail on arrival, Miss Shannon says. I remained in the urgent care room, couldn't leave because I was quite busy with both of the patients. She says she needed to assist Don to use the toilet roughly every 10 minutes, and Don and Gail were both given IV fluids, and an ECG was taken, as well were the blood tests.
Hmm.
What was that? Did I just miss one? As well as the blood test. Did I miss one after this? Yeah. So Miss Shannon says that the dehydrator of Donald Patterson, the deterioration, of Donald Patterson was strange given the food was poisoning symptoms he had been showing. It's because obvious that Donald was becoming worse. He was very lethargic. Blood pressure was going down a little. Pulse was going up a little bit, Miss Shannon said. She tells the court that it was clear that he was in a worse state than when he arrived. Miss Shannon says Simon Patterson arrived to see his parents that morning, and she was aware that the two other patients had arrived with similar symptoms. When the results of the ISTAT blood test returned, Miss Shannon said that it was clear something out of the ordinary was occurring with Don. In regards to Donald, it was extremely abnormal, she says. She tells the court that Don had a lactose of 6 mm's, which was indicated of serious health issues as a sepsis of liver damage. According to the Australian Commission of Safety and Quality in Health, normal laceration levels are less than 1.0 in all age groups. So it's 1.0 is normal, and theirs was 6. The reading would require transfer to a territory hospital of a larger ICU. So one's normal, their lactations was 6.
That's crazy.
Dr. Beth Morgan called to the witness box. Our witnesses are following the chronicle journey of Don and Gail Patterson through the medical system. First the paramedic at their house, then the nurse at the local hospital. Now Dr. Beth Morgan is up next. So we've had the ambulance driver that picked up Don and Gail, the nurse, and now the doctor. So Dr. Morgan was a medical registrar at the Monash Health at the time of the poisonings. She was the senior medical doctor on site overnight when Don and Gail Patterson arrived. While her shift was due to end at 8 a.m. that day, she became involved in a treatment of the married couple. Dr. Morgan says Don exhibited mild right side abdominal pain in addition to the nausea and the dehydration, but no blood produced in vomit or stool samples. She says the doctors were told about the beef Wellington lunch about Erin Patterson's house at this time. I think he was about 60. They were all around that age. Like it would have been late 50s, but I think they were all 60. So the prosecutor has the doctor explain the medical terms to the court. So Dr. Morgan recounts Donald Patterson's vital signs during the morning after the lunch, which were relatively stable at the time. No, 60. 60. She explains the venomous blood gas tests that was given to Don, which, among other things, measured blood acidity and the lactose levels. The lactose levels we've heard heaps about. So Dr. Rogers has Dr. Morgan go over terms like the electrolytes, calcium and sodium for the court and make sure the definitions are clear and accurate. Before a break, Dr. Rogers and Dr. Morgan give a very I can't even say that word right now. No. Definition of the lactose, which she says is present when tissues are not receiving enough oxygen or cells are not metabolizing correctly. After this, the jury files for another break. Hang on. I'm just going to see while we wait for Mac J to come back. I'm going to pull this one up for you. It's not going to let me. Damn it. I was going to bring up a picture. In the end, I'll bring up a picture for you, Carly, of the four of them. Okay, so Lynette Rogers, who is the prosecution, continues her questioning, asking Dr. Morgan to tell the court about the results of the VBG test mentioned before the break. Why we noted that the pH was low, which means that the blood was very acidic, Dr. Morgan says. She says the acidity was likely caused by contaminated vomit and diarrhea, in addition to the elevated lactose. The lactose levels were now at 10, when the normal range should be 0.05 to 1. This was very, very high lactose. So I know it was something to do with the lactose levels that they worked out that it was the death cap poisoning. Dr. Morgan says Don also had the abdominal readings for other markers such as the potassium, urine, and creatine. She says that the fear of significant organ damage was raised as a result of these tests. A liver function test, was then run on Don with markers such as the aspirate transminal level measured. The levels were highly abnormal, and Dr. Morgan says the results made her very concerned about the liver damage and Don had sustained. So I do know with death cap poisoning, it does go straight to the liver. And this is something we've heard over and over, is that it attacks your body, and when your body, like when it's finished attacking it, your body sort of goes through like a honeymoon period where you think you're getting better, and then it will just come back and attack your body again. And it continues to do that until it gets you down. But in that time, it will also be attacking your liver. So not a lot of people survive it, but the ones that do usually need liver transplants because that's what it attacks. So IV fluids were administered to Don in an attempt to remedy the signs, after which another VBG test was run on Don. But rather than improvement, the test revealed that treatment had not worked. It suggested that there was a persistent severe metabolical acidosis, Dr. Morgan says. Doctors worked to find possible cause of Don's illness, such as an enzymic bowel disease. Dr. Morgan says that when she spoke with Don, he seemed well and showed no abdominal tenderness. She concluded that the gastro brought on by food poisoning alone would not account for his illness. As night closed, a CT scan was conducted, which was able to rule out any obsemic bowels. At 10:30, Dr. Morgan says that she texted the toxology department, who ordered her to find out more about what was served at lunch. I was concerned that this wasn't just a gastro caused by food poisoning, Dr. Morgan says. There was a discussion about the presentation and how it was quite severe, but the onset of symptoms was quite delayed. This would be more indicated to a serious toxin syndrome as opposed to food poisoning. Dr. Morgan says the toxology on call told her that it was a toxin poisoning and it was most likely due to the ingestion of amidaphylline, what is death cap mushroom toxin. I'm sorry.
Oh, that sucks.
As advised by the toxicologist, Don was put into a range of treatments, including Nasalitis and NAC, a liver protective drug used in cases of paracetamol overdose. However, Dr. Morgan says the hospital did not immediately administer the Siblin, an antidote to death cap mushrooms. At the time, we had no evidence that anyone else was unwell or that anyone else was experiencing the metabolical or the poisoning.
Yeah.
She tells the court, due to her symptoms and normal readings of the VGB test, Gail was not given an intensive medical care as Don, with doctors believing her illness to be food poisoning. In the early hours of the morning, Dr. Morgan contacted Leongatha Hospital and asked them to conduct the VBG test on Ian and Heather Wilkinson. McCarty, yours is obviously treated. I hope. But I'm sorry to hear that. I hate anyone being in pain. Trust me, I know what pain's like. At about 12:22 a.m., fresh VBG tests show that Gail was now also showing elevated lactose levels. The emergency room doctor was contacted, the toxologist who recommended a repeat of the liver function test, and the administration of a NAC is necessary. At 1:53, Dr. Morgan reviewed Gail and spoke to her at bedside, where she discovered that Gail had only eaten half the portion of the beef Wellington at lunch. She looked unwell and clinically dehydrated, Dr. Morgan says. At 2:08, the results of the new liver function test arrived, showing that her liver function was worsening over time. Yet another test showed the worsening signs and the lactical levels above 5.6. It triggered Don Morgan to move Gail to the ICU. Okay. Okay, 6:50 a.m. the next morning, after conversations with the toxology department, it was suggested that the doctors begin administering the antidote Silibin and the antidote Rixapine.
Rifabusin?
Yeah.
Something like that.
The court hears that meanwhile Ian and Heather were still in the Leongatha hospital and had continued vomiting all night. Dr. Morgan says the doctors at Leongatha Hospital were instructed to start Ian and Heather on NAC and an antibiotic. But this is the thing, they were worried about it working because they'd waited so long. So with these antidotes, they don't stop it, they can help slow it down, like enough for doctors to be able to bring you out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's got to be administered basically straight away. It's like 2 minutes, and time had already gone past by then.
Yes.
Dr. Morgan tells the court that she received a call from a Dr. Chris Webster at Leongatha. He told Erin Patterson had presented to hospital with gastro symptoms and had discharged herself. He needed to call police about it, and Dr. Morgan suggested that Erin go straight to the Austin hospital, which was where Don and Gail were headed due to the severity of their conditions. This concluded her testimony. So we hear more about Erin's visit. Very short visit. The last witness postponed and court was adjourned. So Lynette Rogers is keen to call up another witness, but Justice Beagle suggests wrapping up the proceedings for the day after a particularly informant-dense session. The court hears the witness Mark Douglas was the surgical registrar of the toxology on call at the time when Don and Gail were admitted to hospital. However, due to scheduling, his testimony may now have to wait until later in the trial. So Justice Beagle adjourns the court for the day. Because we can't overwork them.
No.
So what we learned out of Tuesday's proceedings was that Erin Patterson's mushroom trial followed two major through lines. Firstly, Ian Wilkinson, the only surviving member of the July 29th lunch, besides Erin Patterson, gave his testimony. Secondly, medical professionals who provided care for Donald and Gail as they made their way through the health system gave evidence in court, plus the manager of the stall where the prosecutor says that Erin Patterson brought her dehydrator, made an appearance. Here's what we learned. Ian and Heather Wilkinson were excited to receive an invite to the lunch. Ian said that he and Erin were not particularly close, but they thought the lunch would improve their relationship. Erin Patterson was very reluctant about letting her lunch guests look into her pantry. Ian says that he did not go look into the pantry of fear of embarrassing his host. And then we're up to Wednesday. So Ian Wilkinson turned back up. That's him there with the checkered thing and the little black thing over it. So he was the only survivor. He did turn up on Wednesday, but it was only as a guest. It wasn't to take the stand again.
Is that a police officer with him?
I think it's his son.
Okay.
A lot of the kids come up now, so I think it was his son. And there's a reporter in front taking a photo.
Oh.
But this was walking into the courtroom on Wednesday morning.
Okay.
So the toxicology doctor is first up on the witness stand. The prosecutor has called Dr. Mark Douglas to give evidence, and he's appearing via video link. Dr. Douglas is an emergency registrar at the Monash Health, and he's being questioned by prosecutor Lynette Rogers. He explains that he offers management plans for patients who have suffered poisoning. Dr. Douglas was the on-call toxicology expert on July 30th, 2023, and was asked for advice that day about Donald Patterson when he was admitted to the hospital. Okay, good night, Kylie. Thanks for coming in.
Good night, Kylie.
I hope you've subbed up and come back. Dr. Douglas is explaining some of the tests that were carried out on Don Patterson, including the blood test for liver function. He says it was explained to him that Mr. Patterson had eaten a meal about 12 hours prior that could be the source of his illness. Dr. Douglas says that he also understood that the day that Mr. Patterson's wife, Gail, had also been admitted to the hospital with similar symptoms, as well as 2 other family members at a different hospital. Yay.
Hey.
So, poisonous mushroom antidote. Dr. Douglas says that it was initially clear that the illness of the guest was caused by an animated mushroom. So, suspicious. Why can't I say that word today?
Hang on. What?
So, there's
Where were you?
second line. That's it. I just can't say the word today. Catch me again tomorrow and I'll say it perfect. Antidote for that type of mushroom that was administered. He says liver function and blood test result for Gail Patterson showed her condition had deteriorated and she should be closely monitored. He made the same assessment for Donald Patterson and he suggested the antidote should be administered as soon as possible. Yeah, some days I just can't say certain words. I don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah,
and
some
then
of
other
those
days I'll be fine. I'll say them like 20 times.
yeah. Oh, especially when you've got like.
No, go.
I was just saying, especially when you've got all these like medical words as well. It's just like,
Yeah. Dr. Douglas says he reviewed Donald Patterson at the ICU at the Dandenong Hospital. He says someone from the ICU nursing team told him that the mushrooms which caused the poisoning were purchased from a Woolworths or an Asian grocery. Dr. Douglas advised the ICU team to start treatment for the poisoning, and the treatment could be adjusted if the information about the source of the poisoning changes. He also saw Gail Patterson and spoke to her about her husband's status and treatment. He confirms that Gail was later admitted to the ICU. Dr. Douglas says that he briefly spoke with Don while he was in hospital. I can't remember the exact words that were exchanged, but he did say that he was feeling quite unwell. He says Don also confirmed that he had eaten a meal of beef Wellington roughly about noon and started to feel unwell around midnight. And they do say that it takes about 6 hours to kick in.
Yeah, they do.
Dr. Douglas said that he saw Ian Wilkinson and his wife Heather at Dandenong Hospital and spoke to them about how much of the beef Wellington meal they ate. That concluded Dr. Douglas's evidence, and the defence does not put forward any questions. Statements are being read to the court. The prosecution is now reading statements from several witnesses who are not in court. So Heather Wilkinson raved about the meal, says witnesses. Prosecutor Sarah Leningatha has read out a number of statements from witnesses. The first statement is from Angela Child, who is the treasurer of the Baptist Church at Coonabarabra, where Ian Wilkinson is a pastor. She says she saw Ian Wilkinson and his wife Heather after the lunch in question. They had a prearranged meeting at the Wilkinsons' home. She says that Miss Wilkinson raved about the meal and said it was delicious.
Interesting.
Well, she didn't get sick till midnight, remember?
Mm.
So they say that if you eat death cap mushrooms, they are really nice, but it's 6 hours after that you start getting sick. I'm not going to try one for any of you to tell you whether that's true. I don't think Spirit Time will. Spirit Time, do you want to try a death cap for us?
Don't eat mushrooms.
Okay, he won't either. Jennifer McPhee is the director of the Baptist Church. Oh, I've done that one. She also mentioned, okay. She says she left the home around 4 p.m. The couple appeared happy and were now not showing signs of sickness, something Angela Childs also said in her statement. So Anna Terrigan is the next witness called by the prosecution. She is the daughter of Gail and Don Patterson. She's being asked about a gathering on July 27th, 2023. She explains that Gail told her she and Don had been invited to Erin Patterson's house for a lunch and that it was unusual as they hadn't been invited to Erin's place before. Anne says that she phoned her mother about 5 p.m. on the day of the lunch and asked how the lunch went. She fights back tears as she recalls her mother saying that they had eaten beef Wellington.
Oh.
Danielle Romes works for the Department of Health. In her statement, she says that she requested a search of a registry following claims that Erin Patterson had cancer. Victoria has mandatory reporting of cancer diagnosis and detection, she says. This means that I would expect a person diagnosed with cancer would have multiple reports to the registry. No entries under Erin Patterson's name were found. Antonio, another drink.
Time for another
And
shot.
that's it. Anne Tardigan is now recounting a message that she received the day after the lunch from her brother Simon Patterson, explaining that their parents, as well as Ian and Heather Wilkinson, were ill and had been vomiting overnight. She says Simon told her that Erin had diarrhea but was also soldiering on at home. Anne says that her mother told her that Erin had wanted to tell them about the medical issue at the lunch, but she did not ask her mother for more details. Anne Tarrigan has been in tears during a few minutes in the witness box, repeatedly needing to pause. Miss Tarrigan, dressed in a long blue dress, puts her hands in to her chest as she composes herself. Erin Patterson, watching on from the court dock, also appears to be visually impacted.
So that's the daughter?
So it would have been Simon's sister and Don and Gail's daughter.
Okay.
So she would have been a sister-in-law to Erin.
Ah. Very cool.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, Sophie Stanford is now asking questions for the defense, and Terrigan says that Erin had helped her with a loan to help pay for her house. She says she isn't sure of the exact amount of the loan, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. Miss Terrigan confirms that after Erin and Simon's separation, future payments went to Simon only.
Oh.
But wasn't it Erin's money?
Exactly. Funny that. Yeah.
Miss Terrigan says that Erin... Hey?
I said this case is a crazy one.
It's just the money bit that gets me. Like, I know she got it from her family passing away, but it's like she was paying them off.
Yeah. It's
Hey,
crazy.
kitty witty. No. Sadly not.
Unfortunately, no.
They said 5 to 6 weeks. We've finished the second week, so we've got, 3 or 4 more to go.
Yeah, I wonder if they're calling in. Do you know if they're calling in a mental health person?
I don't know.
Okay.
No idea what's coming up.
I just thought maybe the news would have
Yeah,
commented on
they're
that.
not saying a lot at the moment. What comes out in court is basically all we're getting told. So Miss Terrigan says that Erin would, to a degree, attend family events after her and Simon separated. She confirmed the family would communicate on Signal and interrupted messaging service, marking the end of her evidence. When asked if she would describe Erin as a committed mother, she says yes. Her evidence concluded, and she takes a seat in the court gallery where a supporter puts his arm out and around her.
Oh.
They do seem like a very close family. A
They
short
do.
15-minute,
They really do.
yeah. A short 15-minute break has been called at the conclusion of Anne's evidence. I should have been a lawyer with all the breaks they get.
I don't think they get breaks as such, probably like to go for maybe like a coffee or something and then probably review. Because these people don't like, especially the
Court doesn't
younger
stop.
ones. Huh?
Court doesn't stop till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
They usually start about 10 by the time everyone's seated. And then they'll go till 5. But we do have an hour lunch break. Listen to me. Like I'm there. I even said to Spirit Time, I'm like, I'm on lunch now. I'm on my lunch break. Like, I swear, I think I'm in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Ian and Heather Wilkerson's daughter is giving evidence. So the prosecutor has called Ruth Dallas to the witness box. So the one we were just listening to was Don and Gail's daughter. This is Ian and Heather's daughter. So Ruth would have been Simon's cousin.
All right. Got it.
Okay. So Ruth Dallas to the witness box. She is the daughter of Ian and Heather Wilkinson. We knew each other enough to say hi in passing, and that's about it. She says when asking about her relationship with Erin. Miss Stubbs confirms her mother told her in July 23 that Erin Patterson had invited her and Don to lunch. She said that at church the previous weekend, she was talking with Gail after the service, and Erin had come up to them and said, just the two I was looking for, and asked them to lunch. Miss Douglas said, at which I responded, really? I was kind of confused. In response to my reaction, she said, yes. We were surprised also that had never happened before. Ruth says that she hosted her parents for dinner on July 28th, the day before the lunch, at Erin Patterson's house. She says the mushrooms were not part of the meal and none of the guests reported being ill afterwards. So that was a meal that they had at their daughter's house the night before.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. But Erin's see, now I've said that word an atheist.
Atheist.
Atheist, now I can't say it. Kitty Witty. She told everyone online she was an atheist, but yeah. Where was I up to? So Ruth says that her husband received a text message from Simon Patterson on July 30th, 2023. In the text, he said her mum and dad, Ian and Heather Wilkinson, were being taken to the hospital because they were quite unwell. She says she rang Simon after the text. Simon told her that he had gone to Ian and Heather's house after he couldn't get a hold of them and then took them to the hospital. She immediately went to the hospital but wasn't able to see her parents straight away. I know, that's what we said. She told people in her Kelly Lane Facebook group that she was an atheist, and yet she, what was it, was recording the live streams from the church for them.
Yeah, broadcasts or something. Yeah.
So Ruth says that she spoke to the doctor on August 1st, 2023, who told her that the condition of her parents was a little more serious than they had previously thought, and they suspected death cap mushroom poisoning. She says her parents were transferred to Austin Hospital later that day. Erin Patterson's defense does not offer any questions, and Ruth leaves the witness stand. So we're getting through them now.
Yes.
So Matthew Patterson is the next witness called to give evidence. He is another one of Gail and Don Patterson's children, so Simon's brother. And is a church pastor. So the prosecutor, Sarah Lethan, asked him about the relationship between his family and the Wilkinson family. He says the families spend a fair bit of time together. Gail and Don Patterson regularly caught up with Ian and Heather. Matthew says he first met Erin Patterson about 20 years ago. He says conversations between Erin and Simon Patterson became more mechanical in recent years after they separated. 20 years, they must have been together a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Patterson says he went to see his parents when they were ill in hospital after eating at the lunch hosted by Erin Patterson. He says he saw his father, Don Patterson, in the ICU, and medical staff were asking Don what he ate. His father replied that the dish had mushrooms in it and he did not know where the mushrooms had come from. Matthew says that he often offered to call Erin to get more information about the mushrooms. He says that she asked her over the phone how she was, but couldn't recall her response. He then asked her where the mushrooms from the dish came from. She mentioned that there were fresh mushrooms from Woolies and dried mushrooms from a Chinese shop in the Oakley area. Okay.
She keeps making that up. Didn't she say it was another? She changed it from
an Asian shop before.
Chinese to Wool. Yeah, an Asian shop.
Email discussed child protection issues. Matthew confirms that he had an email from Erin Patterson after his parents passed from the mushroom poisoning. He confirms that Erin asked him to look after her and Simon Patterson's children due to child protection issues. The prosecution has no more questions. So did the kids end up in care? I thought they would have went to one of the families. That's sad.
That is sad. But then considering he's only paying whatever in child support, we're probably better off in care.
Erin Patterson. Yeah. Erin Patterson's defense team is now questioning Matthew Patterson. There is a decision of a loan of around $400,000 made by Erin Patterson to Matthew Patterson and details of a loan repayment. The court also hears Matthew's family and Erin and Simon's family exchanged COVID care packages during isolated stages of the pandemic. Matthew confirms that Erin had a positive relationship with his parents and he agrees that she respected his parents. Did she just go giving money out to all his family?
I'm starting to wonder, yeah.
Because the Simon's sister owed her money for a house. Now the brother owes her 400,000. Like, was she paying them off?
I wonder. I really do.
So questions come back to the phone call Matthew mentioned earlier, which he made to Erin to discuss where she sourced the mushrooms for the lunch. He agrees she paused as if trying to remember details as to where she brought the mushrooms. There are no further questions and Matthew Patterson is dismissed.
Hmm.
We're now hearing from Chris Webster, who is a doctor who was rostered to work a 24-hour shift at Leongathan Hospital the day after the lunch at which the guests were poisoned. He confirms he received a call to inform him that 2 patients would be arriving with vomiting and diarrhea and would need urgent care. He was then told these 2 patients would go elsewhere, but 2 different patients would present with similar symptoms. He says that he was told all 4 people were ill after eating the same meal. Dr. Webster says that he saw Ian and Heather Wilkinson in the urgent care department. Dr. Webster says Ian and Heather Wilkinson were clearly unwell, but both were able to communicate. He says he asked them about food they had eaten in the past 24 hours, and both said that they had not eaten anything since the lunch at Erin Patterson's house. He confirms that he was told that they had eaten beef Wellington. He asked Heather whether it was what it was like, and she replied it was delicious. Dr. Webster says that he asked about the meat in the dish as he thought was more likely to be the source of the illness. Dr. Webster is now referring to his triangle notes from the day he treated Heather
Triad.
Heather and Ian Wilkinson. His notes showed patient vital signs were within normal limits, but the patients could not hold water. He confirmed anti-nausea medication was given to the patients, as well as another medication that reduces stomach acid. Court breaks for lunch. Dr. Webster is now detailing some of the tests carried out and treatment of Heather and Ian Wilkinson. Questions about the treatment are paused as the court breaks for lunch. Because us Aussies need another break.
Yes.
The hearing has resumed. Dr. Chris Webster is continuing to discuss details of his assessment and treatment of Ian and Heather Wilkinson at the Leongatha Hospital. He says he took a phone call from a doctor at the Dandenong Hospital who treated Gail and Don Patterson overnight, and they were concerned about the possible death cap mushroom poisoning. He says the doctor recommended Ian and Heather Wilkinson be transferred to Dandenong Hospital to receive specific treatment.
Interesting.
Erin Patterson presents for emergency care. Dr. Webster says the following day he spoke to a woman waiting in the urgent care area of the hospital and apologised for keeping her waiting. The woman said she had gastro and gave her name as Erin Patterson. Dr. Webster said that he recognised her as the chef of the meal. Wouldn't that be bad?
Oh, yeah.
He recounts an exchange with Erin Patterson about where she sourced the mushrooms, and she replied, Woolworths. He says he later became aware that Erin Patterson was no longer at the urgent care area and was told she had discharged herself against advice. I was surprised, he said. Dr. Webster says he rang Erin Patterson's phone 3 times and left 3 messages after she left the hospital. And in the last message, he would have to contact police for her health and safety. He says he then spoke to senior medical staff at the hospital and explained the situation. Dr. Webster says he wanted to inform senior staff at the hospital before treating someone against their will. The court is then played a recording of a 000 phone call made by Chris Webster. In the recording, Dr. Webster's 000 call, he tells the operator that a patient who had potentially been exposed to poisonous mushrooms had left the hospital, and gives the operator Erin Patterson's name and address. So there were 5 people that ate the meal on Saturday, and 2 of them are in intensive care at Dandenong Hospital, Dr. Webster says in the recording. He tells the operator that Erin presented at Leongatha Hospital reporting symptoms. The nurse informed me that she had discharged herself out against medical advice, he tells the operator.
Yeah, because she knew she wasn't poisoned.
Exactly. It's in my opinion, I think she was putting on her sickness.
Oh, I agree.
But that's not a fact. As I said, that's just our opinions.
Yes, just opinions.
During the phone call recording, Dr. Webster tells police the mobile phone number he has on record for Erin Patterson. He tells the court the phone number ending in 783 would have been written down in the triage form and was also accessible in the clinic database. See? Now I read triage fine.
Yeah.
Earlier in the trial, the prosecutor alleged Miss Patterson had 2 separate mobile numbers with the SIM card, with a SIM number ending in 783, eventually being seized by police following the lunch. She left because she knew that when they did the test, it would come back negative. Yeah, exactly. 100% spirit time. They can be scared and alive or past. Doctor's blunt warning to Erin about his child's health. So Dr. Webster says that Erin Patterson represented to Leongatha Hospital later that morning. He says he asked her if anyone else had eaten the beef Wellington, to which she replied that her children had eaten the meat, but not the mushrooms. He says he told police that Erin had represented and he advised them to look for leftovers from the meal at Erin's house. Dr. Webster said he told Erin police were at her house and asked if they could access the house to find leftovers of the meal. She told him they would be reminiscents in the bin. He says that he spoke to her once more and asked about the children. I inquired as to the whereabouts of the children, and she informed me that they were at school, and I stressed the importance of getting the children to a medical faculty for assessment, Dr. Webster says. Erin was reluctant to inform the children, and I said that it was important. She was concerned that they were going to be frightened, and I said they can be scared and alive or
Or dead.
the defence begins its questioning of Dr. Webster and Colin Mandy, focusing on the conversation Dr. Webster initially had with Erin Patterson. I had a brief discussion with her, Dr. Webster says. No more than a minute or so, Mr. Mandy asked. I don't think it would have been that long, Mr. Webster said. He was trying to assent where the mushrooms used the lunch had come from and asked Erin. Her answer was Woolworths, Mr. Mandy says. Yep, single word answer, Woolworths, Dr. Webster described. Can she get in trouble for that?
I'm not sure.
Like
She
saying
would
that
have.
she bought them from Woolworths?
Well, you'd think so, but I haven't seen that she has. But police probably would have caught that on the interview, which we will never see. But
Yeah. Mr. Mandy asked Dr. Webster about a conversation he had with Dr. Beth Morgan, who we heard from yesterday. He tells the court that Dr. Morgan had expressed concerns about Dandenong Hospital being overloaded with patients and indicated that it was likely that Erin Patterson would have to be transferred. Mr. Mandy asked whether it was a daily struggle for regional hospitals to deal with overloading, but Dr. Webster disagreed. Mr. Mandy then rereads a previous statement given by Dr. Webster during a preliminary hearing where he states it was a daily struggle. Dr. Webster, we've got to remember too, this was during COVID and all our hospitals were under pressure.
yep, I remember that. It was like crazy. You had like, everywhere. Like the emergency line had those checkpoint things.
Yeah, I do think but I just think it's like Woolworths being such a big chain, they wouldn't want people thinking that their mushrooms have got death cap mushrooms in it. That's, yeah. Anyway, Mr. Mandy asked Dr. Webster about a conversation he had with Beth Morgan. Sorry, I got to start it again because I don't know where I was up to. Who we heard from yesterday. He tells the court Dr. Morgan had expressed concerns. Oh, yeah, I read all that. Mr. Mandy asked whether it was the daily struggle. Yep, so I read that. Be helpful if I could keep where I was up to. There is some more discussions about whether the Monash would be most likely transferred option from the Dandenong, as Mr. Mandy and Dr. Webster grappled over the terminology used in his questioning. Mr. Mandy asked for an early break, and it's granted by Justin Bagel. So another break.
Another break.
Back from the break. The defence continues. Not the extra charges are needed, but yes, she could. Extra jail time, misleading information, false testimony if done on the stand. There would also be lying under oath, but like I said before, it's not needed. I just don't think bullies would be very happy about.
No.
So the defence continues examining the trial Erin Patterson left through the health system after the lunch. Mr. Mandy is asking Dr. Webster about the process of patients changing to different wards and doctors as shifts at hospitals change. Dr. Webster tells the court about a conversation he had with a Mereborough North police officer after Erin Patterson had returned to hospital. The police had travelled to Erin's Leongatha home to look for her after she had discharged herself from hospital again, against doctors' advice.
Yep.
He says he told the police that Erin had returned to hospital and they no longer needed to look for her. Then his mind turned to the leftovers from the lunch. It occurred to me that they're at Erin's house. They can get some leftovers for me, Dr. Webster says. Then I realised I better ask the homeowner if it's okay for the police to go in. Dr. Veronica Foote is the next witness called to give evidence. So this is just a lot of the doctors that were there at the time, like July 31st, 2023, she was the first on-call doctor at the Leongatha Hospital working a 24-hour shift. She says that she arrived for a shift at 8 a.m. She saw there were 2 patients being prepared for transfer by ambulance. Dr. Foote says that she was informed by Dr. Webster at the time that the 2 people were suspected to be suffering from mushroom poisoning. They were being treated for toxic mushroom poisoning, and the treatment was IV fluids, NAC, and antibiotics, she says.
Interesting.
The court is shown footage taken from one of the Leongatha hospital entries where Erin Patterson is seen trying to leave through an automatic door. Miss Patterson, who is in a red jumper, beige trousers, backpack and sandals, and a surgical mask, makes her way to the exit, but is intercepted by Dr. Foote. Dr. Foote stands in the way of the exit before Miss Patterson hits the button next to the door to open it. A third nurse comes into frame to join the conversation. Eventually, a form is back over for Miss Patterson to sign, a discharge against medical advice document. Welcome back, Jodie.
Yep.
After Miss Patterson signs the document, she heads out the door and the whole incident unfolds over about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So she went back for 2 minutes. Dr. Foote tells the court that Erin Patterson did not return within 30 minutes as she had indicated. She says she was aware Dr. Webster had contacted police about Erin's departure. Urgent care notes made by Dr. Foote on July 31st also are tendered as evidence. Miss Patterson reported to me that she had eaten the same meal as the patients that had previously been transferred out, Dr. Foote says. She reported that she had since Saturday night diarrhea and abdominal pain, but no vomiting. She reported that the 2 children had also ate the leftovers on Sunday, but they hadn't eaten the mushrooms or the pastry topping. Dr. Foote says that Miss Patterson claimed to have brought mushrooms separately at a Safeway and at an Asian grocer in April.
I thought it was Woolworths.
Wasn't Woolworths known as Safeway before?
Oh, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially in Victoria, I realise, call it Safeway.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I didn't either until we moved there, and everyone was always talking about Safeway, and I'm like, what? And they're like, it's Woolies. I know, us Queenslanders just talk normal.
Yep.
Dr. Foote says that she took blood pressure, temperature, and the pulse of Erin Patterson at hospital. She tells the court that although her blood pressure and temperature were in normal ranges, her pulse was high. I noticed her to be appearing quite upset, and I examined her abdominal and found it to be lax and soft. Her pulse would have been high because she would have been worried if she was going to get caught.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Foote says although Erin Patterson reported diarrhea, she did not see any evidence of it personally. She tells the court that Erin Patterson's heart rate was initially measured at 140 beats per minute at 10 a.m., while a second observation at 11 measured it at 110 beats per minute. Over time, it settled, but it was approximately 100 beats per minute on the last observation before she left. She says there could have been several causes for the pattern. Stress and anxiety could make your heart rate go up and then back down. She says Dr. Foote also says dehydration could have been the cause of a high heart rate. which would return to normal when treated. Dr. Foote tells the court that other tests were reassuring with no electrolyte disturbances and no metabolical acidones present.
Okay.
Just, yeah. Sorry, my fridge is just talking to us. We heard yesterday that these texts gave different results for Don and Gail Patterson with high levels of the metabolic acids for the pair. Dr. Foote says that she received instructions from a toxicology register to administrate IV fluids and NAC to Erin. Yes.
Hi, Kaz.
The court is showing CCTV footage of Dr. Foote handling the leftover beef Wellington that had been retrieved from Dr. Patterson's bin on July 31st, 2023. Dr. Foote, wearing gloves, can be seen pulling a dark-coloured substance out of a brown Woolworths bag, presumably the filling of the beef Wellington. Then she retrieves a larger piece of the outer pastry of the beef Wellington. Dr. Foote places the sample on a white sheet of paper and takes a photo with her phone before putting the items back into the bag.
Okay.
Hey, Kaz. How are you, my darling?
Do you want me to read the next two so you get a break?
Go for it.
Okay. Defense begins questioning of Dr. Foote. Is it Foote? Yeah, Foote. Mr. Mandy begins his cross-examination of Dr. Foote. He once again runs down the events of July 31st, confirming that Dr. Foote believed Erin Patterson needed to be admitted to the hospital. He raises to Dr. Foote that as part of her treatment, it was likely Erin would need to be cannulated, having a tube put into her veins. Simon Patterson, Erin's estranged husband, previously told the court during his testimony about Erin's dislike of hospitals due to prior experiences. That makes me wonder if she actually went to hospitals previous times faking an illness, you know? Yeah. Court adjourns. There is a miscommunication requiring Mr. Mandy to re-ask some questions, and Justice Beale opts to end the proceedings for the day. Dr. Foote will return to finish her testimony tomorrow.
Five things. Okay, you can go.
Okay.
This one's not as small, so you can do it.
Okay. 5 things the jury heard in Erin Patterson's trial today. There have been several witnesses appearing as part of Miss Patterson's triple murder trial today. Here are 5 things the court heard. The doctor who saw Erin Patterson when she first presented at Leongatha Hospital gave her a blunt warning about her children's health. Dr. Chris Webster told the court Erin was reluctant to get her children out of school and to a hospital for fear they would be frightened. I said they can be scared and alive or dead, Dr. Webster told the court. You know, I gotta say the doctor was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand hospital's scary, but I'd rather than be scared and in hospital and being tested than find out that they've got poisoning that's going through their body.
Oh, yeah.
Like, look at me yesterday. I stopped everything for my grandson.
Yes, but she didn't. She's like, oh no, they would be too scared. I mean, come on.
And I think they're teenagers too. I don't think they're young kids.
Oh, okay.
So, number 2, Dr. Webster also said that he was surprised when he told Erin she'd been exposed to a potential deadly toxin and she discharged herself against medical advice. He later called Triple O to try and get the police to bring her back out of concern for her safety. 3, at the hospital, Erin's pulse, initially high but settled in the
Subsequent.
subsequent hours. Reassuring results of the blood test showed no embolical acidones, which was detected in tests run on the lunch guests who fell seriously ill. Erin had lent $400 to her brother-in-law, Matthew Patterson, and his family. The court heard the loan helped Matthew and his family buy a home, and they were fairly liberal terms on when repayments could be made. Heather Wilkerson told her daughter Ruth that she was surprised to receive a lunch invitation from Erin. Similar evidence was heard from Gail Patterson's daughter, who said that her mother had remarked it was unusual.
Interesting.
So Thursday was when they announced that court won't sit today. Well, it was Monday, so today.
Yeah.
So the Leningatha doctor returns to the witness stand. Dr. Veronica Foote is continuing to give evidence as Erin Patterson's trial. She's being questioned by Miss Patterson's lead defense lawyer, Colin Mandy. Dr. Foote agrees that decisions were held with Erin Patterson about transferring her to a hospital in Melbourne. Dr. Mandy says Dr. Foote to confirm whether Erin had a high heart rate and high blood pressure when she initially presented at the hospital, and Dr. Foote agreed. We only had half a day on Friday, so.
Okay.
Dr. Foote confirms with Dr. Mandy that she discussed with Erin Patterson the possibility that she may require a liver transplant if she had been exposed to death cap mushrooms. Mr. Mandy asked the doctor whether Erin asked her whether that would be the case for everyone who ate the mushrooms, but the doctor could not recall. Dr. Foote also says that she was not able to give Erin information about the status of the other guests at the lunch due to patient confidentiality. Mr. Mandy has now finished questioning Dr. Foote. I wonder if she went to the hospital to get information on how the other 4 were.
I think she probably did.
Thinking if she went in that they would let her know how the other 4.
Yeah, it's a good thing they didn't tell her.
The prosecution is back to questioning Dr. Foote. She's being asked about the other exclamations of Erin's high heart rate and high blood pressure. Dr. Foote says the high readings could be caused by medical conditions such as an uncontrolled blood pressure or stress and anxiety. After being asked why Erin's readings went down over the next few hours, Dr. Foote replied, "It's possible that the stress of the situation had dissolved a bit." Dr. Foote was now finishing giving evidence. She would have had the stress and anxiety over what she caused, and I think she went to the hospital to find out how damaged the other 4 were.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you.
Not that we'll ever know, but
No.
Erin refuses to go to the hospital treatment bay. So the court is now hearing from Nurse Kylie Ashton, who was on duty at Leongatha Hospital when Erin first presented. She said she arrived at work and was told there had been a possible death cat poisoning and that 4 guests who ate the meal had been admitted to hospitals. Miss Ashton was involved in the case of Ian and Heather Wilkinson when they were moved into the urgent care centre. Ian looked very unwell at that point, she says. Miss Ashton says Erin came in during the morning and remained at the seats opposite the nursing station. Erin wasn't ready and willing to come through to a bay for a more formal assessment, Miss Ashton tells the court. Miss Ashton explains that she told Erin it was important that she brought her children in for assessment given the seriousness of the situation. She confirmed that Erin signed a discharge at her own risk form, which is now being shown to the court. Miss Ashton says Erin was trying to leave through the ambulance bay when she tried to convince her to stay with the help of Dr. Foote. She says that she got the form for Erin to complete, which she did. The nurse says Erin left after signing the form, but she was told that she should return as soon as possible for treatment. It's liver-preserving treatment, so the sooner we can get it, the better the chance of preserving organs. Miss Ashton says that Erin got up and said that she needed to leave. She says the conversation went back and forth between Erin wanting to leave and Miss Ashton expressing concern for Erin's well-being and trying to get her to understand the seriousness of the situation. She described it as a very short, rapid communication, which included talking about the poor condition of the other guests and that they were being transferred to the hospital for high-level care. Miss Ashton said that she told Erin her life was at risk. These guys were really unwell. We had 2 in ICU at the time. She says Erin kept repeating the same reason for leaving, that she hadn't come to the hospital prepared to stay, and that she did not think she would need to be admitted, and that she needed to go away to prepare and would come back.
Okay.
Who's ever prepared to go to hospital?
Yeah, go and prepare to throw the dehydrator away.
Well, I think she did, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Kylie Ashton is now being cross-examined by Colin Mandy, SC. She confirms all of the events that she had described happened within roughly a 5-minute time period. Miss Ashton confirms she was not aware of the full situation regarding the lunch when Erin Patterson first arrived and was waiting to be seen at the urgent care section. Mr. Mandy says it to Miss Ashton that Erin Patterson wasn't refusing treatment altogether. She just did not want to be admitted at that time. She replies that Erin certainly did not want to be admitted at that time. Miss Ashton says that she recalls Erin telling her that her children had eaten leftovers with the mushrooms scraped off. Mr. Mandy asked Miss Ashton whether she would have told Erin's specific information about the health status of other lunch guests, to which she replies she would not have due to patient confidentiality. She confirms she discussed the situation with Dr. Foote about trying to convince Erin not to leave. Mr. Mandy asks whether Erin said she would return within a specific time frame, and Miss Ashton agrees that she did agree to return. Mr. Mandy says he is close to finishing his questioning, but asks for a short break. Of course.
Of course.
Miss Ashton has been excused for a brief questioning about when she became aware that the children had eaten leftovers. without the mushrooms, despite being asked whether she was mistaken with her recollection. She insists she found out the first time Erin was at the hospital. She says it was her understanding that when Erin left the hospital, she was going to come back with the children. Hi, beautiful Jessie. How are you, my darling?
Hi, Jessie.
Jury's asked for every Monday off. I told you. The jury's asked Justice Christopher Beale a note asking if they'll now have every Monday off. Nice try, members of the jury, but the answer is no from Justin Beagle. Earlier, they were told they'll be having the coming Monday, May the 12th, as a rest day while trial lawyers work on things behind the scenes. Justin Beagle says there may be other days in future where the court won't sit. It's a matter for you if you want to go back to work on the Monday, he said. One of the jurors begins visually shaking his head, drawing laughter from the courtroom. I told you, us Aussies, we need breaks.
Oh, yeah.
These long court weeks. Because even 2 weeks for a case in Australia is big.
Oh, yeah.
You all right?
Huh? Yeah?
Yeah, our spirit time's looking for something, so I was just asking him
Oh.
what he's looking for. He's going through drawers, so I'm like, what do you want?
Oh.
Another nurse at Leongatha Hospital is now giving evidence. Cindy Maroon. Erin Patterson administered the IV fluids when Erin returned to the hospital after initially leaving. She says Erin didn't look unwell as Heather and Ian. She says she remembers Ian being so unwell he couldn't lift his head from the pillow, but Erin was sitting up and didn't look unwell. She says the hospital had run out of the medication it needed to protect the body from the mushroom toxin, but they'd used it all on Ian and Heather. Miss Munro says Erin was stressed and repeated multiple times that she didn't want any of the treatment she was receiving. Because she knew she didn't have any poisoning.
Exactly, and she didn't want to be found out.
She says Erin told her about the children eating the leftovers. Miss Munro said that she worried about her, but that Erin had said she'd scraped the mushrooms off and the kids weren't sick. Erin said she didn't want to cause them any hassle to take them out of school, Miss Maroon said. The nurse says Erin became teary at that point, and she says that she explained to Erin that if the mushrooms had been removed, some of the toxins could have been seeped onto the meat. She says Erin then agreed to receive treatment and bring the children to the hospital. Oh, Kaz, 18 months, yay. Thank you. Hang on.
Yay.
Let me play something for that. We've had spirit times and now Kaz's.
That was scary.
Thank you so much. Okay. So did I read this one? She says Erin told her about the children. Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Miss Munro says that Erin agreed to be treated and agreed that her children needed to be treated. She confirms that she observed Erin talking to someone on the phone. Miss Maroon says that she told Erin that she had called an ambulance to take her to Dandenong Hospital and that her children would be taken to Monash Hospital. She says Erin told her that she didn't want to go to Dandenong Hospital, she wanted to go where her children were. Erin went to use the bathroom before being loaded into the ambulance, Miss Maroon said. That closed the prosecution questions of Miss Munro. Cindy Munro is now being cross-examined by Colin Mandy. Mr. Mandy asks Miss Munro about when Erin first presented at the hospital, and she confirms it was very soon after the nurse Kylie Ashton was looking for a discharge at her own risk form. Mr. Mandy has no further questions and Miss Munro is discharged. Senior Constable Andre Martins Villabus is now giving evidence. He confirms he was asked to do a welfare check on Erin Patterson after a call from Dr. Chris Webster. He says he arrived at Erin Patterson's house around 10 a.m, but was then told by Dr. Webster in a second phone call that Erin had returned to the hospital. Senior Constable says that Dr. Webster asked him to look for leftovers of the beef Wellington. He also spoke to Erin Patterson, who gave him the code for the gate and suggested where he would find the leftovers for the meal. She's given me pretty specific I'm going to have nightmares about that word. Information which bin they may be in. You watch, I'll be saying it all day tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be my word of the day.
Specific.
Senior Constable says he found the leftovers in the red lit bin outside the property. He says there was little else in the bin, but he found leftovers from 1 or 2 beef Wellingtons in a brown paper Woolworths bag. He says Erin Patterson was quite cooperative at this stage. Senior Constable took the bag of leftovers to the hospital. There are no more questions from the prosecution. Under cross-examined, Senior Constable Martinez Villabus confirms that Erin Patterson was cooperative while he looked for the leftovers. He confirms there was liquid seeping from the bag containing leftovers. There are no more questions and Senior Constable leaves the witness stand. Yeah. So Don and Gail Patterson's daughter-in-law, Tanya Patterson, is giving evidence. She's married to Simon Patterson's brother, Matthew. So we heard from Matthew earlier.
Yes, we did.
Tanya spoke about her texting Erin after Don and Gail had been moved to Austin Hospital. She says that she asked Erin how she was and whether she wanted her to visit her in hospital. She says Erin responded that would be lovely and that she felt nauseous, dizzy and tired. Tanya went to the hospital and says Erin asked how everyone was. She says that she told Erin things were going downhill quickly. See, she's just trying to get information.
Oh, yeah, she's digging and digging. See how much time she has to make up a story.
Tanya Patterson says Erin told her that she had very low potassium levels. She says the toxology came in and told Erin that she was well enough to leave. She says Erin asked about the potassium and was told the levels were fine and not as low as would be expected for someone who had diarrhea. After Don, Gail and Heather passed, Tanya says that she received an email from Erin in which she asked if Tanya and Matthew would take the children if child protections became involved. Tanya said she agreed. Court has now broken for lunch. The trial has resumed after a lunch break with defence lawyer Sophie Stenoff questioning Stafford. Okay. Questioning Don and Gail Patterson's daughter-in-law, Tanya Patterson. She confirms that she has known Erin Patterson for about 20 years, and her husband visited Erin and Simon Patterson in Western Australia. She also confirms that Erin and Simon loaned her and her husband $400,000 and repayments continued after Erin and Simon separated. But to who?
Exactly.
Miss Patterson confirms the relationship between Simon and Erin appeared umbilical until the last couple of years. She says their relationship appeared to be going downhill. She says Erin was good and attentive mother and had a good relationship with her in-laws. Because she lent them all money.
Yeah.
The questions now turn to the 12 months before the lunch when Erin and Simon's relationship began to deteriorate. Miss Patterson confirms the pair did not speak to each other as much and there was strain. Erin's decision to move the children to a new school and the payment of child supports. She says she did not discuss those issues with Erin. Miss Patterson agrees Simon and Erin attended a relative's birthday celebration in January 2023, but can't say if that's the only event they attended together that year. She agrees that Erin asked in the hospital about the condition of the other lunch guests, but she told her it would be best to speak with Simon about that. Erin had told me that she knew Don and Gail were induced comas. That's probably as much as I knew, she says. She concerned she may be wrong about what Erin may have known about the health status of the guests. That brings the cross-examination to a close. Dr. Connor McDermott is now appearing via video link. He was working in the toxicology unit at the Austin Hospital, including dealing with people who called the Victorian Poison Information Centre. He says he received a call from a doctor working at Leongatha seeking advice about Erin Patterson and was told she was stable and looked well but had high heart rate. He says he was told her blood results were slightly high pH readings, but everything else was normal. He says her potassium levels were slightly low. He says he was told she complained about having diarrhea for 36 hours, but that it hadn't been observed by staff at the Leongatha. After initial phone calls, Dr. McDermott says that he called back the doctor at Leongatha because he thought it might be a public health issue if the mushrooms had been sold through a store, so there might be more cases in the community. He asked more information about where Erin got the mushrooms. He says she told him they were unbranded, pre-sliced button mushrooms from Leongatha Safeway and a Chinese store from Oakley. She told him she no longer had the packaging and wouldn't be able to find them. In an attempt to narrow down which store Erin brought the mushrooms from, Dr. McDermott said that he offered to list all the Chinese food stores in Oakley, but she says that she told him she wouldn't be able to recall even if he named each shop. He says she then told him she brought the mushrooms several months before in April, so wouldn't remember the name. He says he again offered to name the store, and she then replied that the store may have been in Glen Waverley. Hang on 2 secs. You just take over for a minute, Mac J. I just got to mute for a minute.
Okay.
hang on, I'll just go to the next one. You can read it. Just 2 seconds, darling.
All right.
There. I'm just going to mute for a minute.
Okay. Paramedic takes the stand. Dr. McDermott has finished giving evidence, and the court is now hearing from Leongatha paramedic Eileen Spencer. She and her partner were dispatched to Leongatha Hospital to transfer Erin Patterson to Monash Medical Center. She says they were also told they were to transport a sample of the mushroom meal. She says she was told Erin's vitals and blood results were normal, and when she first observed Erin, she was alert, had good skin color, and no respiratory distress. And yep, she's definitely faking it.
Sorry, I'm back.
You're welcome back.
My daughter wanted my car.
Ah.
Okay. A calm and nonchalant Erin taken to Melbourne by ambulance. Paramedic Elon Spencer says Erin told them she had diarrhea up to 30 times before going to hospital, but during the 1 hour and 40-minute trip to from Leongatha to the Monash Medical Center, she did not need to use the toilet. Miss Spencer said during the trip, Erin complained of a headache that she rated as being 7 out of 10 on the pain scale. She says her partner called the poisonous information line to see if paracetamol would interact with the liver medication she'd already taken. She says that they were advised to give Erin fentanyl, and it was administered to her. She described Erin as being calm and nonchalant during the trip, and that it was an uneventful journey. I can't read nonchalant the same way anymore. I see that word and I just think Laurie Vallow.
Yes. Same.
Everything's so nonchalant to her.
Oh, yeah.
We return from the break. We will next hear from the daughter of Erin and Simon Patterson. Her testimony is played to the jury via a video recording. So this is their daughter, Erin's daughter. The statement was recorded August 16th, 2023. I hate the sound of my car just driving away. Testimony of adolescent daughter of the Pattersons begins. The adolescent daughter of Simon and Erin is seeking with an interview who explains how the interviewer will work to the young girl. The interviewer goes over the definition of truth and lies with the Patterson's daughter. The girl becomes emotional and says she doesn't know why she is being interviewed. She eventually says that she thinks she is being interviewed to talk about the lunch at her mum's house. I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened, she says. So I do know that this is the only time we have seen Erin actually have a major response to anyone on the stand, and she cries to her daughter's testimony.
Oh, not.
But they're not showing her daughter's testimony. They're only showing, the police interview of her daughter.
Ah, okay. So they're playing the video.
Yeah, of her daughter when she was getting interviewed by the police. So the court is being shown the video. Erin is in the court dock and has begun crying as she watches on. The footage taken at the Morwell police station shows the then 9-year-old, okay, so the daughter's 9, being interviewed by a police officer. She is seated on a green armchair. Her legs are so short they don't even touch the ground. A police officer sits opposite the girl across from a small wooden table where a tissue box and coloured pencils are placed. Erin's daughter says her mother told her about hosting a lunch on the day before it occurred. My mum told me that she wanted to have a lunch with my grandparents and Heather and Ian. She said that she was going to have just at the dinner table. She tells the interviewer her mother explained that she just wanted to talk to them about adult stuff. Erin's daughter described a previous meal she shared with her grandparents, her brother, and her mother. The interviewer begins to ask about Simon and Erin Patterson's relationship. Are they separated, he asked. I don't understand, she says. Are they still in a relationship? After a clarification, she answers, they're husband and wife. So she doesn't even understand.
Wow.
Erin's daughter tells the interviewer that she had been told that she and her brother would be out of the house on the day of the lunch. She told us that we were going to go to the movies in the morning. She says Erin's daughter recalls the morning of the lunch and seeing her mother preparing the lunch. She says she doesn't know what her mum made for lunch, but remembers eating it. It was in the oven and there was some, I don't know what kind of meat it is, she says. I know that my brother and me had some of the leftovers the next day. The interviewer asked her about what else happened on July 31st, the day of the lunch. Erin's daughter says that she doesn't really remember. She says she was taken to McDonald's at Leongathan at about 12 p.m. that day, describing eating lunch and playing on the playground before walking to the cinema. After the movie, she said her father picked her up, her brother and a friend, and drove her brother back to Erin Patterson's house. He then dropped the friend off in Coonabarra, and she stayed with her father. She stayed with her father and spent the afternoon with him.
Okay.
So they dropped the brother off to Erin Patterson's house, and then the friend at Coonabarra, and then she stayed with Dad.
Oh.
So it was only the brother that went back. I thought it was both of them. At around 9 p.m., Erin's daughter returned to her mother's Leongatha home. How was Mum last night? The interviewer asked. She's, I don't remember when she started to feel sick, Erin's daughter says. But I think she started feeling sick the next day. Erin's daughter says the next morning her mother needed to go to the toilet a lot and told her daughter she had diarrhea. How many times do you think she went to the toilet? The interviewer asked. I saw her go like 10 times, her daughter says. That's interesting.
Yes.
Erin's daughter said she did not go anywhere the day following the lunch. She says in the middle of the day on August 1st, they played Monopoly together and had dinner. We were going to go to church, but Mum was feeling too sick, Erin's daughter said. She asked if she went for a drive with her mum and brother. She says that she can't remember. Erin's daughter says her mother and her brother ate leftovers from the lunch. We had some of the steak they had. We had some mashed potatoes and some beans, Erin's daughter says. The interviewer asked Erin's daughter to describe the steak, but she cannot. Did it have anything else on it? He asked. No, she answered. The interviewer asked about the plates the child ate from. They are black and red one. and there's one white one, and I think that's all the colours we have. She says Erin did not finish her meal of leftovers and told her children she still felt ill. She wasn't very hungry, so she didn't eat that much, so my brother ate the rest of hers. Erin's daughter says. So did hers have the mushrooms?
Yeah.
Court adjourns with more to come tomorrow. Justin Beagle interrupts the video and says we will watch the rest of Erin and Simon Patterson's daughter's testimony tomorrow, and court is adjourned. Told you we have lots of breaks.
Yes.
Erin Patterson's shaken by daughter's testimony. As the video comes to a stop, the jury is led out of the room. Erin Patterson stands in the dock and is visually upset. She takes a deep breath and looks up, quietly saying a few words to herself. The video evidence will resume tomorrow. So 10 things that we learnt in court today. The Leningatha Hospital has run out of the medication used to counteract death cap mushroom toxins by the time Erin arrived, having used up all their supplies on Ian and Heather. A police officer said Erin was quite cooperative as she gave information over the phone to help find the beef Wellington leftovers in the bin at her home. The officer was double-gloved and had put the brown bag containing the leftovers inside another plastic bag as liquid was seeping out the bottom. Erin's sister-in-law, Tanya Patterson, said that she was present when a toxicologist gave Erin her blood test results and told her that her potassium levels weren't as low as would be expected for someone who had diarrhea. A doctor working in the toxicology unit at Austin Hospital feared there could be a public health risk when he was told Erin had brought the mushrooms from a store. He feared there could be more cases in the community and that they needed to identify which store she brought them from. He told the court that he had offered to read Erin the names of all the Chinese stores in Oakley, but she had insisted that she would not remember its name. 6. The doctor told the court Erin told him she had thrown out the package for the mushrooms and wouldn't be able to find the packages again. 7. A nurse told the court that Erin did not look sick as Ian and Heather Wilkinson. She said that Erin was sitting up in bed while Ian could hardly lift his head from the pillow. A paramedic who travelled with Erin in the ambulance from Leningatha to Melbourne said that Erin didn't need to use the toilet once during the trip, which lasted 1 hour and 40 minutes. The paramedic said Erin was calm and nonchalant during the journey. In a recording of an interview with police, Erin's daughter, who was 9 years old at the time, said her mother told her she was having Don, Gail, Ian and Heather over for lunch because they needed to talk about adult stuff. Her daughter said that her mum was too sick to take them to church the next morning and that she went to the toilet about 10 times. We have half a day left.
Yep.
I think next week we might break it up. I might do like a couple of days and then do it.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Instead of the whole week like this. So court updates from Friday the 9th of May 2025. The jury has entered. As we begin the final day of week 2 of this trial, court is only sitting until 1 p.m. today. As always, Erin Patterson stands as the jury enters the room. Today she is wearing a brown-coloured cardigan and a green shirt. The video evidence of Erin Patterson's kids is going to be playing to the jury today. They saw some of her daughter's evidence yesterday. Okay, Mum told me that dinner was beef Wellington leftovers. The questions now turn to the meal. Erin's daughter is asked about her mother's cooking, and she says that her mother is a good cook and they sometimes help her with the cooking. She is asked where she was when her mother was making dinner on the day of the lunch, and she says that she was on the computer. How did you know it was leftovers from the lunch? She is asked. Mum told me, she replied. Erin's daughter is asked if she noticed her mother preparing any food on the day before the lunch, and she says that she didn't see her making anything. The police officer asked Erin's daughter what her favourite food is, and she replied, ice cream. Ask any kid that. She is asked if, when she cooks with her mother, they ever used mushrooms, and she says no. Erin's daughter says that she has never been mushroom picking with her mum and has never seen any wild mushrooms out with her mother. She says they sometimes buy mushrooms from the supermarket in Kumabara, and she sometimes eats them. She can't remember the last time they brought mushrooms, and she says that they never been to an Asian grocer with her mother. Erin's daughter explains that they have a house in Glen Waverley and last went there in the school holidays. She says she didn't go to any supermarkets with her mother on that trip. Erin's daughter is asked if she's been told anything else since the lunch on whether she had been told not to say anything. She says her father said she didn't have to talk to police if she didn't want to, but she confirmed that she was fine to talk to the officer. That is the end of the police interview.
Okay, so that was his daughter.
Yeah, that was Erin's daughter.
Okay.
So she was 9 years old at the time. So 23, 10, she'll be 11 this year.
I guess she's not at the trial.
No, they're only playing their court, like their interviews.
Fair enough.
So as the interview of Erin Patterson's daughter comes to an end, Miss Patterson appears to become emotional, slightly rocking back and forth in her seat. The jury is now showing the second interview conducted with her then 14-year-old son. It was conducted on the same day as the daughter's interview on August 16th, 2023, about 2 weeks after the fatal lunch. The footage depicts the teenager sitting in a green armchair across from a police officer. So this is their son. The police interview with Erin Patterson's son is now being played to the court. The courtroom is told the recording will go for about 1 hour and 40 minutes. Erin's son gives his full name and confirms his age. He is asked what he thinks it means to tell the truth, and he replies something that's right. He confirms he's going to tell the officer what really happened. He says he knows he is there to talk about the lunch, which led to the deaths of 3 people. Erin's son names the 4 people at the lunch and explains his relationship to the 4 people. He says the lunch happened at his mother's house and says his father was invited but didn't come. He doesn't know why his father didn't come. He is asked about his parents' relationship and says that when he was about 7 years of age, they had a few arguments and his mother moved house, but they were never divorced. He says neither his mother nor his father had another relationship. He explained he goes to stay with his father over weekends and he drops them off to school on Monday mornings. Erin's son says that his mother used to come to his father's house on Friday nights and they would all have dinner together. He estimated this was when he was about 8 or 9 years old. He described the relationship between his parents as very negative. He says they wouldn't talk to each other about getting joint access to the app which contains school reports. He says his father kept trying to convince his children to keep staying with him over weekends, but they never did anything when they stayed with him, so he didn't want to. The conversation now turns to the lunch, and Erin's son says that her mother organised. I've done that wrong. Erin's son says that his mother organised the lunch, but didn't tell them why, and there was no mention of Simon Patterson being invited. He said Erin had done Don and Gail over for dinner before, but never Ian and Heather Wilkinson. The police officer asked Erin's son about Erin's relationship with Don and Gail Patterson, and he says they sometimes went to their place for events. He doesn't recall a whole lot, but the family relationship with Ian and Heather Wilkinson, and he says it's not a negative one, but it's not a strong one.
Okay.
They mustn't have been paid enough. Erin's son is now talking about the day of the lunch. He says that his friend stayed at his house on Friday night before the lunch. He says that Erin told him about the lunch on the Saturday morning. He tells the officer interviewing him that he and his sister and a friend went to see a movie in Leongatha on the day of the lunch. All three were then picked up from the cinema by his father and driven back to Erin's house. He says he said hello to the lunch guests. Erin's son says that she told him she wanted to talk to the guests about something and the children didn't need to be there. He says he saw her preparing salad but didn't see any other food. Salad.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because wasn't it mashed potato and green peas?
Yes.
Erin's son is asked about what he saw when he returned to the house after seeing the film, and he says there was some small talk with Don Patterson about the flying lessons he was taking. He says he doesn't know what the guests were talking about and doesn't know what they were eating, but saw a fruit platter and some other food. He says the guests stayed for about half an hour after he got home. After the guests left, he and his friend played the computer game, and then his friend was driven home around 5 p.m. by Erin. With all the children in the car, she can't remember what they had for dinner that night. He says he spent about 30 minutes with the lunch guests, and he agrees that everyone seemed happy when asked by the interviewing police officer. Erin's son says that he can't remember his sister coming inside, and his sister wasn't in the car when Erin drove his friend home. He says he didn't have any conversations with his mother about how the lunch went after the guests left. He says he presumed his mother was tidying up the kitchen, and he remembered taking some lunch plates to the dishwasher. He says he can't remember if there were any leftovers on the plates. Erin's son says that he and his friend played a game with headphones on for about 2 to 2.5 hours. Erin's son says that he and his friend played a game and can't remember taking any toilet or drink breaks. He says he went upstairs around 5:30 to tell his mother his friend had to go home. They left the home shortly after to take his friend home. Playback of the recording is then paused while the court takes a break. Of course.
Of course.
We're nearly finished. Erin Patterson was going through a range of emotions during her son's evidence. At times she nodded along as he counted details about the times that certain things happened or how the house was arranged. At some moments she appeared upset, swallowing hard and dabbing her eyes with a tissue. That's what I mean. It was only with her 2 kids did she actually
Get
show
emotional.
emotion.
Yeah.
So playback of the police interview with Erin Patterson's son has resumed. He says he returned to their home with his mother about 6 p.m. after dropping his friend home. His father dropped his sister to Erin's house later that night. He says his sister got home around 9 p.m., but he is not sure whether his father came into the house. The police officer conducting the interview is now asking Erin's son about the day after the lunch. He says he saw his mother in the morning drinking coffee, and she told him she was feeling a bit sick and had diarrhea. He says they're supposed to go to church. Hang on. Sorry. Just got to find out where I was up to. "9 p.m. The police officer conducting the interview is now asking Erin's son about the day after the lunch. He said he saw his mother in the morning drinking coffee, and she told him that she was feeling sick and had diarrhea. He says they were supposed to go to church but didn't end up going because his mother was unwell. He says Erin drove him to a flying lesson in Taba that morning, but he doesn't know why she did that, as she was unwell. Erin's son says that his mother was a bit quieter than usual that morning, which he thinks was because she was sick. He confirms the drive to his flying lesson was about an hour and 10 minutes, and he thinks that they left home around midday. He's asked to talk about what happened in the time between when he first saw her that morning and when they left. He says that she told him she'd been vomiting a few times overnight. She was playing it down. That's what it sounded like, he says. He says that she told him she didn't want to go to church in case she spread it to people, but was happy to drive him to his flying lesson because there would not be many people there. Erin's son says that he was in the computer room most of the morning, but did not notice his mother going to the bathroom in that period. He says she told him she hoped they could make it to Taboo before she needed to go to the toilet. He confirms that they did not stop and she did not go to the toilet. So for someone who had diarrhea that bad, she went an hour.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
The interview turns to the cancellation of Erin's son's flying lesson, and he confirms his instructor called his mother when they were about 10 minutes away from Taboo. He says they turned around and drove back, stopping to get some dim sims and a hot dog while his mother got a coffee. He's not sure who ate what. They stopped for about 10 minutes. He said there's no toilet where they stopped and his mother did not use the toilet. He remembers his mother racing to the front door when they got home and then using the toilet. Erin's son then explained they had a meal and watched TV that evening.
Okay.
Erin's son is now describing the leftovers that they ate for dinner, which he says was some of the best meat he's eaten. He says it was eye fillet, it was a block, and I cut it up into cubes and ate it, he says. He says the meat did not have anything on it. He explained that his mother told him it was leftovers, there was no gravy with it. He talks more about the conversation with his mother about the leftovers, and he thought he had seen the meat before when his mother had prepared the lunch the day before. He said he saw the meat in the frying pan the morning before, but didn't see her preparing anything else. He says there was no leftover salad from the lunch. The police officer asked if the meat they ate for dinner the day after the lunch had already been cooked and was being reheated, or whether it was cooked that evening. He thinks it was meat that was already cooked and was reheated, but he didn't see how the meal was prepared. He says Erin made dinner for herself that night, but didn't eat any of it. He says his mother said after dinner on Sunday that she was feeling dizzy and had diarrhea. He confirms his mother told him that she knew Gail and Don were unwell. He said his mother woke him up at around 6:30 a.m. on Monday and he came downstairs for breakfast. Erin drove the children to the bus stop. He explains he was told at the school around midday that his mother was unwell and he and his sister were taken to the hospital to see her. She was tired, he says, and they spoke about the day at school and how she was feeling that day. She said that she was feeling clammy and dizzy. He said she told him that morning before school that she had been to the toilet a few times overnight. He explains he saw Erin having a coffee downstairs that morning. Erin's son says a toxicologist came into the hospital room while he was there with his mother and he had to leave the room. The interviewer is jumping back and forth chronically with the police officer clarifies some details. He really thought she had salad, doesn't he?
He does.
The interviewing police officer asked Erin's son about what he recalls about clearing away plates from the lunch. They were white plates. Oh my God. About 15 centimetres in diameter, he said. He says they were plates his mother would serve dinner on. They were just plain white plates, all the same, he says. Was there anything left on those plates, he is asked. He says no. Erin's son is asked if he likes mushrooms and he says he doesn't like them. How squishy and mushy they are. He says he's never been foraging for mushrooms with his parents. He remembered his mother once taking a photo of mushrooms when they were on a walk because they looked nice. And it was a very fond memory in his head. This was around July or August 2020, he says. He's not aware of his parents ever picking mushrooms. Erin's son is asked if he knows if his mother has a dehydrator, and he says no. He says his sister and mother stayed in a house at Mount Waverly during the Easter school holidays for 3 to 5 days, but he can't remember any outings with his mother. He says he didn't go shopping with her mother, but helped carry groceries in from the car. The interviewer jumps into Erin's son's school arrangements and he explains he changed school recently because there weren't enough teachers at his previous school. He says the move was his mother's decision and he agreed to move. The police officer asked if there's anything important that he'd like to say, and Erin's son says no and agrees that everything he's spoken about is what happened. The police interview ends and the court breaks for the day. The trial is adjourned till Tuesday. That's the end of the court proceedings today. The jury has left the courtroom and Monday is a rest day, so the trial will resume on Tuesday. What's tomorrow?
Yes.
So there's 5 things that we learned in today's testimony. Today we heard the remainder of the police interview with Erin Patterson's daughter, as well as the full interview with her son. Here are 5 things that the court heard. 1. Erin Patterson described his parents' relationship as very negative, saying Erin and Simon Patterson had a few arguments. I know Dad does a lot of things to try and hurt Mum, such as messing around with the school, he said in his police interview. He explained that he and his mother drove for an hour to a flying lesson to Tabai the day after the lunch, but it was cancelled when they were 10 minutes away, so they turned around. They stopped once and brought some dim sims and a hot dog, and his mother had a coffee, but she didn't use the toilet. Erin's son recalled a walk during COVID times where his mother stopped to take photos of the mushrooms because they looked nice. 4. He said his mother told him the meat they ate for dinner was from reheated leftovers from the lunch that she held with Don and Gail Patterson and Ian and Heather Wilkinson. In his police interview, Erin's son said that he went upstairs around 5:30 on the day of the lunch and found his mother playing Lego. The court also heard Erin had a Lego set at the Mount Waverley home where Erin's son used when they stayed in Melbourne. Did I miss the Lego bit?
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's it for
Yeah.
the end of that week. So it was a rest day today, so we're back in court tomorrow. But I might keep you updated with how many pages I'm getting because I don't want to do this many. Like, there was 220 we just went through.
Yes, about that.
So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to organise for us to watch this Dateline one. I think Jodie wanted to, Miss Sharon. I will put it in the Discord, so Miss Sharon, you can grab the links from there. Just let me know who wants to watch it with us. Get in touch with me or Mac J if you want to, and we'll set up a time and date and just come into StreamYard and watch it from there.
Yeah.
But let's do it soon. I really want to see it.
Yes.
So, other than that, I guess, are we going to do William on Wednesday? You free
know.
Wednesday?
Should be, yeah.
We'll talk about it and I'll put it up what we decide.
Okay.
We'll work it out. But other than that, thank you everyone for coming and listening to all of that.
Yes.
And I can hear my house is already going into night mode, so I'm going to go and jump in and help everyone. Got spirit time out there cooking. I've got kids up I can hear in the bathroom. My car's back, so that's safe. So, all right, my darlings. I love you all, and I will see you all next time.
No worries. All right. See you guys.
Every true crime on the rise. Investigate the scene, uncover the lies. From Melbourne to Sydney, all the way to Perth. No case too tough, we'll dig into the dirt. We'll crack the code, find the truth, bring justice to the table. No excuse, Australian legends in the game, bringing light to darkness, no shame. Just got a super child, let's celebrate. Raise a glass for all the cases we've solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. From cold cases to missing persons, we'll leave no stone unturned. Every virgin detectives in our hearts will never give up. But justice and truth will always hear us. Ooh, thank you so much. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Thank you so much. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. cases we solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Let's celebrate, raise a glass for all the cases we solved in the past. With eyes wide open, we'll never rest. Aussie true crime, we're the best. Thank you so much.